screen. Can you see my screen, please? I hope I'm not speaking to myself. Please confirm that you can see my screen at your end.
Let's see, I can see your screen. Well,
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So, um, okay, so just like I said, the first person who will be handling today's class is Molushola Agbelusi, and she'll be starting the Smart Manager Program 1, and she'll be covering enterprise risk management, that's the ERM, corporate communications, branding and marketing, and then economics. And then we are going to also,
That's not true, ma. Mercy, that's not true. We have three different people that are going to be
oh,
covering three different things
so
today.
sorry.
That's not correct, ma.
Yes, sir. Thank you for
There
the
are only
correction.
three classes that are happening today. There
Mhm.
is enterprise risk management,
Yeah.
which Shola will be covering. There's
Mm.
corporate communications and branding and marketing, which Mr. Muiwa
Oh, wow.
is meant to be
Yes.
covering. And
Yes.
then Mr. Afiz will be here
Taking
to cover
economics.
micro and macroeconomics.
Yes.
Those are the three sessions that we're having today, and they're
Mm.
going to be covered by three different people. It's three different topics being covered by three
Hey.
different people today. And today is the launch of our Smarter Manager program, which we're going to be doing over 4 Saturdays. So we're going to be covering 12 different topics over 4 Saturdays, pretty much at the rate of three, uh, at the rate of three of those topics per Saturday. So each of the trainers will come, will spend an hour thereabout, and by the end of today, we would have covered topics 1, 2, and 3 of the Smarter Manager program. Next week, we will do a different three, and the week after, we'll do a different three, and we'll round it up with the last three. So there are 12 different topics that are going to be covered over a 4 week period. These topics are important. These topics are essential for all of us because these are the key things that we need, especially on this course that is entrepreneurship and business management. This course called entrepreneurship and business management. We're covering these 12 topics, and I'm certain that all of you'll be better off. And that's why I said last week that even if you don't have people that are going to be doing all the topics, the whole of the semester with us. You should get your friends, you should get your sisters, you should get your cousins, get all of them in primarily because of today. Okay, so Shola is going to be taking us what is risk management? Why is risk management important? Why should all of us know something about risk management? That is what it is that we are doing today. If you give me a second, I can put, we do have a flyer here. I mentioned to all of you, I said to you last week, I said this particular thing, the cost, it's 500,000 naira. When we do it during the week, it is 500,000 naira when we charge organizations for it. But because Transformation College is a free school, we're doing the same thing. Did you hear what I just said? The same course being taught by the same professionals. So if you look in here, this is the course in itself. Hello, everybody. I hope you can see my screen. This is the same topic, the same course in itself, and we charge 500,000 naira for this course. But because this is Transformation College, We're doing this same course at 0 naira. But we're going to be doing this course on the 1st of December. The same Shala is going to be taking a module there. The same Mr. Muiwa is going to be taking a module there. The same Mr. Afiz is going to be taking a module there. It's the same set of trainers. So you can see the topics are the same. Okay, so it's not something you should play with, it's not something you should trivialize. You should get your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, your colleagues, your workmates, you should get them here. Even Auntie Shala, please tell all the people in your business development, people in your HR, people in your finance, people in your procurement. You can leave the technical people out of this. Well, everybody that is in one business role or the other should be in here. And I am certain that all of us will be blessed and we will find this to be extremely value added. It is 3 topics over the next 4 weeks, making it 12 topics. I already have taken the strategy side of things. And what we've then done is that we've broken the finance and accounting and economics, we've broken them into 2. So economics is a full course, while finance and accounting is another full course. Once again, we welcome you all to this session. I'm certain that all of you are going to be significantly blessed. And as you go into the year 2026, I hope all of you and pray that all of you will be excellent managers as it is. Thank you very much. Madam Sholai here is the Chief Operations Officer of PSC, and she's a risk management and also even HR expert. So she's in operations, she does a lot of project management, she does a lot of risk management, and she also does a lot of HR. And even in this year, I'm certain that she has trained a couple of banks when it comes to risk management and similar type things. So please, everybody, welcome with me, Mrs. Shola Agbilisi, as she takes us through what is risk management, why should we know about risk management, why should all of us be excellent risk managers. Thank you very much, Shola.
All right. Thank you very much, Doctor. Good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone on the call. And it's a pleasure to be here. Please, while I put up my screen, can you please confirm that you can hear me? If you can hear me clearly, please let me know.
Shola, I can hear you. I can hear you. Shola,
Thank
I
you,
can hear
sir.
you.
Please, I'm unable to share, but if it's fine with you, I can see, Buma, I can share.
I'm sure they will allow you share in a minute.
All
So
right. Okay, so while that comes up, I think we have some interference. So while that comes up, and that is dealt with, today we'll be talking about enterprise risk management, and I want to believe that quite a number of us are quite familiar with what risk management is, or what risk is as it is. For most, so let me explain. We understand that risk is simply a deviation from us meeting whatever it is, maybe any situation or circumstance that actually does not help us meet our objectives. So quite a number of us woke up this morning, or from yesterday, we were planning to be in this meeting, and we're trying to start to look at some of the things that would help us ensure that we're here. And while we're doing that, we also consider some of the things that could actually deter us from being in this meeting. And we thought around what are the things that we could do to ensure that we are in this meeting despite all those hindrances. So in a way, and in a very our own little practical, personal, or individual ways, that is saying that we are trying to manage the risk around certain objectives that we have set for ourselves. Please let me know as soon as I can share. I'm not sure. Or if you can, please go
Yes,
ahead.
Shola, can
Okay,
you
I
try
see that.
again?
Okay,
Yes, can
thank
you
you.
try
Thank
again
you.
to share?
Right, thank you very much. I think I should be able to share now. Right. Confirm with me if you can see my screen.
Yes, 100%. I can see from here.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Edith. So, as I was saying, that risk itself is something that, or risk management itself is something that we all have been practicing one way or the other. And going forward, I'm going to try and take a quick summary of enterprise risk management for everyone here in that 1 hour that we have for us to do this. Risk is, as it's not something very small. It's something that it is very critical, and it's very integral for us as individuals, as organizations, as communities represented on this call, or as how would I call it, committees, institutions, as the case may be. Now, risk management itself, like I said, is the ability or the process by which we identify, by which we assess risk, by which we actually prioritize risk, so that we can continually, or we can meet our objectives, or objectives that we have set for ourselves, whether in our businesses, in our organizations, in our institutions, as the case may be. So it's just about understanding ways or setting up systems to ensure that we can anticipate potential problems as it is within our different spaces or business environment, and be able to develop strategies to ensure that we can minimize those risks from materializing, either by minimizing the impact that the risk will have on us, or by minimizing the likelihood of occurrence of such risk that we have identified. So that's what risk management is about. Then going forward, we now start to look at a lot of people understand that, oh, there's risk management. But what exactly is enterprise risk management? So what actually distinguishes enterprise risk management from risk management as it is? So enterprise is actually talking about looking at risk holistically. Like it means that you're identifying risk across your organization. So, for example, you're not just looking at just a single type of risk. Like some people will say, "Oh, I'm just looking at risk with respect to our finances. I'm just looking at risk with respect to our operations." No, you're actually looking at risk across the entire organization, and how this risk actually maybe have how they are interwoven as it is. So when we carry out, or when we are with the approach of enterprise risk management, it's just about actually ensuring that we are integrating risk or risk thinking into our various functions, into various processes, into various different activities within our organization. And then we are viewing this risk as being connected to one another, and looking at it as looking at the way that it actually affects altogether, how they affect the achievement of our objectives, maybe as an institution or as an organization. So enterprise risk management actually pushes us to look beyond maybe a single department or beyond a single function, or we are looking at risk at different levels within our different we are looking at risk within different levels of our organization. We're looking at it at the operational level, at the compliance level. We are looking at it strategically. So we are not just looking at one side of the business. We are not addressing risk maybe in the silo of, so for example, let's say I am I'm a financial, or maybe a fintech, You're a fintech and you're looking at, okay, so what matters to us maybe is credit risk, or what matters to us is financial risk as it is. But you're looking at risk because in different areas and looking and putting everything together, because you understand there's an understanding that this risk, the organization itself is connected, and one risk or one particular risk that materialize can actually develop into various risks across the entire organization. Right. Okay, I hope you can still hear me. Right? Okay. So it's important that we also understand enterprise risk management, and permit me if I say ERM in this case, that understanding ERM help us to integrate risk itself or risk management into various strategy within our organization, integrate it into our operations. So whatever it is that we are doing, whatever activity that we are carrying out within the organization, we are actually we are actually evaluating risk. We are thinking about risk across our various operations as it is. So, for example, so when we have a comprehensive enterprise risk management within our organizations, it means that no matter what strategy, no matter what we want to do within the organization, maybe we want to carry out operationally, or maybe we want to, for example, launch a new product, or we want to hire a new staff. One of the things that is etched into our activities or our processes is the idea that we are always considering the effects. What are the things? We are considering circumstances, we are considering situations that actually can impact on the objective that we have set. So our objective is to hire a new staff. We start to consider, even before hiring the staff or before the process, before we start or we proceed with our process of hiring a new staff, we are thinking around what are the things, what is the situation, what are the likely situation, or likely occurrences, or likely events that can impact on the objective of us hiring, especially when we want to hire a great talent, of us hiring a great talent. So we are looking at it that what would not make us, or what would happen that at the end of the day, that we would not realize that we have not hired a great talent. So we start to look at those things that would ensure, we start to look at those things that will ensure that at the end of the day, objective of hiring a great talent for the organization, in this example, is actually met. So in whatever it is that we are doing, in making our decisions, in making our decisions, in even setting objectives, in building or in establishing maybe establishing certain guidelines or establishing certain rules, we need to understand the place. We need to understand the risk behind those things that we are doing. So when we do these things, it helps us to ensure that we are prepared ahead of time. So, for example, using still the hiring practice, a background check is a form of risk management or for an organization. So the background check is helping you to ensure that nothing goes wrong. So you want to hire a new staff. You want to hire a new staff. You have spoken to the person, or you have interviewed the person, and you have seen that this person is the one you want to go with. You go the extra mile. You have considered that, is it possible that this person, maybe something is left out in the person's CV, or the person is not saying what it is that they are meant to say, or there's there's a issue in their conversation, or in their conversation to you. So you're trying to ensure that the organization, so the background check is, like I said, is a form of risk management, is to check It's just to check to ensure that whatever the client, sorry, the customer, sorry, I said customer, whatever the candidates are said to you is actually accurate and meets up with whatever it is that you have discussed. So at the end of the day, you're not suddenly finding out that this person was a wrong hire. You have ensured to put in steps um, to actually deter that occurrence that you have actually hired a wrong person or somebody with a bad reputation. So there are different type of risk, and I said that this enterprise risk management just helps us to look at the types of risk within our organizations connected. Like, we are not looking at them in silos. It's not as if we're saying, oh, we are dealing with strategic risk, because operational risk an operational risk can actually trigger a financial risk. So, for example, this example of a bad hire, I can hire a bad talent into the organization, and I think, okay, maybe this is an operational risk because we didn't take the right maybe we didn't take the right course of action, or something was omitted in the entire process. However, you start to look beyond that operational risk. The thing is that there is a risk of finances with a loss of finance with the operational risk. Because, for example, if I hire a wrong person, we have expended money to hire that person. So that means every money, every financial implication that we have put into that hiring process actually is a loss at the end of the day if we have to ask the person to leave. Now, by hiring a wrong talent also means that if you're not careful, maybe for one reason or the other, let's say, okay, so for one reason or the other, the person committed I would say, maybe there was a misconduct by this person, right? Before the person left, because you did not check initially at the point of hire. Now, the actions of this hire or this wrong hire can actually lead to reputational risk, a damage to the reputation of the organization. Maybe the person actually expose confidential information of a client. That can lead further to say, oh, there's a damage to the organization's reputation as it is. This can also further lead to compliance. Maybe because of this damage, whatever the person has done, maybe there's a breach. Let's say there's a breach. Let's say, for example, maybe a data privacy breach, as it is. So you can see that risk within the organization they're actually connected, and you can't just treat them in silos. So when you're addressing risk holistically, you are looking at those triggers and ensuring that you have a system in place to actually identify them and manage them and treat them appropriately within the organization. So exactly what are the important what is the importance of enterprise risk management? I have said ahead of time that when we are able to address, when we are able to look at the circumstances or the events around our various operations, and we know we apply risk-based thinking in our activities, and we have integrated integrated risk management into into our practices within the organization, then it helps us to ensure that we are making good decisions, or it improves on our decision making altogether. That means whenever we are making decisions, we have done due diligence to ensure that the decisions that we are making are actually those decisions that will help us to meet the organization's objectives, or those decisions are the ones that would help us to get those outcomes that we have set out to achieve in the first place. I have explained through my example, you can see that I talked about being able to protect our reputation. We can protect our customers when we ensure that we are actually thinking about risk. That means we have a risk-based thinking in everything that we are doing. We have aligned risk, risk management into our various, into our processes. We have aligned risk management into our strategy within the organization. It improves on regulatory compliance, definitely, because you're looking at the ways. So, for example, we want to launch a new product, or we want to take a decision. One of the things that we need to understand, one of the things we look into are the factors that affect, the factors that affect us as an organization. These are when we start to think about what are the policies around us that will guide us, what are the things that we would look at. So, for example, when we are taking, let's say this hiring decision, we start to look, we want to hire a talent, or we are going into a new market. So we want to go into, for example, an organization want to move from Lagos. You want to move into, Kano, and you want to start business there. One of the things you start to look at, okay, this business you're about to start, what are the contractual, what are the regulatory obligations to us based on what it is that we do, or based on our own business context? What are those obligations that we need to fulfill? When we have prepared our head and we have looked at those things critically, it helps to ensure that we are compliant. It helps to ensure that we have put in place everything that we need to do ahead of time. So, for example, we start this operation and we did not take cognizance of, or we did not take, we did not carry out due diligence to understand what are those things that would impact on the objectives of actually having a successful business in Kano. It is possible that because we have not done this, at the end of the day, maybe there is someone we need to talk to. Maybe there's some license based on our business context that we need to have, we need to have signed for. And we did not take this decision, or we did not look at this critically. There's tendency that at the end of the day, maybe the business will be shut down, or maybe the business will be penalized, or maybe there will be fines because of the decisions we have taken, not taking the proper permission to actually run that business in that vicinity. Also, enterprise risk management helps us to build resilience, help us to sustain our businesses. So how does this happen? Peradventure, like I said, we want to start a new business. We want to launch a new product. One of the things that enterprise risk management help us to do is that before we launch the product, because it's a part and parcel of us, we start to look at this. Okay, what are the objective of this product? What's the objective of us launching this product? Who is our target audience? What are the people that we want to serve? How do we want to serve them? And if we have taken, when we have asked these right questions from the beginning, we can critically look at those things that we need to do ahead of time and ensure that we put them in place. So, for example, we have looked at who is the right audience. How do we talk to them? Maybe the audience we are wanting to talk to, the generation we are trying to talk to, maybe they are the for the product, maybe they are the millennials, so to speak. Or yes, or the or sorry, yes, let's say we want to launch a product and say we want to talk to the Gen Zs. And for one way or the other, the model that we have in mind is that we want to use a maybe we want to start this conversation via emails. So enterprise carrying out a very comprehensive, or having a comprehensive enterprise risk management helps us to have looked ahead and say to ourselves that what are these audiences? How will I be able to connect, or how would we be able to connect with them? This is our model. Would this our model work to connect with them? So we would have done all those things ahead of time to ensure that we have the right things in place. So, for example, let's say it's an email model that we have, like I said, that we have in mind. We start to look, okay, these people, we can run a survey, and a survey is one of the things that we can say, okay, let's even check on our audiences and see what their preferences are. This is us saying taking steps from the beginning to identify that there's a risk that our audiences might not be listening to us. Or there might be a risk that the channel that we are about to use, the communication channel we are about to use, might not be appropriate or might not be adequate for the target audience. So we have looked ahead of time to ensure that, okay, we can meet these people. So maybe via the survey, we discovered that, oh, true, we can't reach these people. So we start to look at ways to ensure we reach them. So it's possible that we change our objective completely, or we change our channels completely. We look at it, okay, or we start to look at, okay, maybe some people can be reached one way, some people can be reached the other way. One way or the other, we just try to put in strategies, or we try to implement different measures to ensure that those target audience, we are able to reach them and we are able to pass our message or pass our service across or deliver that service optimally to them. With that, we know that we have done our own work ahead. We are prepared ahead for what come may, as in what may come, we can deal with it, or we can ensure that whatever happens, we are prepared to handle the consequences. So it helps us to be able to sustain the business beyond. Imagine we just jump into it without making preparations, actually seeing, okay, what are those things that can impact, and preparing ahead of it. It's possible we'll launch the business, put in a lot of invest a lot into the business, and going along the path, we just find out that the business is not working, and maybe before we know it, before we can even control things, what happens is that we have to shut down that business. So enterprise risk management helps us to be able to build resilience, help us to stay strong despite challenges within the business or within our operations as it is. So some framework, I'm going to talk about an example of a framework. One of there are different frameworks for enterprise risk management. There's one that I talk about a lot, which is the ISO 31, or I train on a lot, which is the ISO 31000. They are practically similar. They just have they have different components as it is, or different principles. But most of these principles are actually quite very similar as it is. So I'm going to talk here about the COSO framework. The COSO framework has 5 different components, right? And this component, it's the governance and culture, as you're seeing on the screen. You have the governance and culture. We have the strategy, objective, and setting. I'm just going to go a little bit into that very soon. We have the performance and risk assessment. We have the review and revision. We have information communication and reporting. When it comes to governance and culture, it's just talking about how maybe the top management they deal with risk management. So for ISO 31000, let me get a mix into that. It talks about leadership. It talks about leadership and their commitment. If the leadership of an organization is not committed, right? Is not committed to risk management, then definitely the organization would not. So they provide the what do I call it? They are the forefront when it comes to risk management. So the leadership, or sorry, when it comes to governance and culture, we're talking about the kind of oversight that the board of an organization or the management of an organization, how they actually how to set the tone for risk management within the organization. What are the things that they do, right? That's what it talks about when we're talking about governance and culture. How do they ensure that risk management is integral to every process within the organization? So let's take an example of maybe let's say a bank. A bank decides to put up an app. An app, most of us can actually get loans on from the bank as at today. So you can get loans from the comfort of your room. But I'm sure that when those banks were going to do that, they actually looked at what are the things that could happen. So for the bank, they are looking at it that if we put up maybe a digital lending app for our customers, it provides opportunities for us to maybe ensure that more people can be able to, more people can take advantage of that service. And for them, an opportunity for additional revenue to the bank. But despite these opportunities that this app might have, we need to understand that this app can also um, be different risks can actually materialize from this particular service that they have started. So people can decide to take loans and not refund. So there might be defaults in that, right? There can be cybersecurity challenges. People can hack into the system, or because of the kind of service that is being rendered, there might be maybe CBN, for example, for the banks, they might decide to have start to look very critically into this bank, right? So they've looked at all these things, right? So for governance, the governance people, when we are talking about the governance and culture, in this example, you will see for the management start to in one way, the management start to tell the organization. So they are the ones that ensure that, okay, this is done. We want to go into this lending hub, but what is it? What does it mean for us? We want to start this service. We want to implement this service, but what is this? What does this mean for us? So within the governance, they are the ones that now set the tone and say, you know what? This service, we have understood the risk behind it, and for us, this is the acceptance level for us. For example, they are saying that, okay, despite we have identified the risk, but you know what, this is our appetite, this is what we are willing, the risk we are willing to take in order to achieve this objective of us actually providing or launching this digital lending app, or launching this app that lends money to our customers. So they set that tone, they set that appetite, they set what is possible, or what the organization is willing to take, or or maybe the risk the organization is willing to take. So, for example, you can see that the bank can say, or the management can say, well, we are doing this. However, please, we must ensure that this is over. There's a great we have great oversight over what is being done, and we are managing it appropriately. This is what governance provides, right? This is what governance provides for the project according to the framework, the COSO framework. So they ensure that they provide the right people to manage the services and ensure that those services they work appropriately or work adequately. They ensure that they provide people to look into people to stand and ensure that there is whoever it is, people that have been assigned, that they are compliant to the regulations and all that. They are the ones that this is what is done under governance and culture. In the same example, right? When we look into strategy is just about actually understanding what the objectives are, right? What's the objective of whatever it is that we want to do? Ensuring that, so for example, this lending app, they have to ensure that the service aligns with the overall objective of the organization. So the bank definitely has thought about it as an opportunity to maybe a bank is one of the things, or one of the objectives of the bank is to increase market share. And like I said, the lending hub is to ensure that there is financial inclusion, like people are included, more people are included, they can get more customers as it is. So there must be a strategic alignment, right, of your they look at how this service that we want to launch, how does it align with the strategy, or align with the objective, overall objective of the organization, right? Also, when we talk about strategy and objective setting, we're also thinking about, okay, what is we start to set like criteria for acceptance or criteria for maybe for the bank for what it is that is acceptable, the risk that is acceptable. So in this case, we're talking about when we talk about risk appetite. So let me explain what risk appetite is. So the risk appetite of an organization, of an institution, of an individual is the risk that the person is willing, the amount of risk that the person is willing to take to pursue whatever objective that the person has set out to pursue. So, for example, I have decided that I want to go from here, from wherever my current location, and I want to get to, for example, Ikeja. And in my mind, I have said to myself, I can set a risk. I want to get there as quickly as possible, but I have limited resources in the sense of I have limited monies, my financial capability. I'm looking at it, and I can set a risk appetite for me that, well, I need to get there in 2 hours. However, the capacity I have to get there is less than for example, how would I put it? Capacity I have to get there is less than is 2,000. Anything above 2,000 naira, that's my appetite. So my appetite, that I said, the amount of risk, the risk I'm willing to take is to spend an extra 20,000. Maybe the place, if I wanted to go by maybe commercial bus, I probably will spend 200, 500. But at the same time, because I'm looking at it that I need to get there in 2 hours without any delay, I start to look at, okay, what can I do? Okay, I can decide to take an Uber, and the Uber is going to take anything above 2,000 for an Uber. I decide that I cannot take it. So it means that my appetite to be able to achieve the result of getting to Ikeja is 2,000 naira. So, for example, in this case of the lending app, I just wanted to bring that down to understand the appetite. The organization now sets its appetite, right? It sets its appetite. And in this example, the bank can decide that, okay, when our default rate, maybe people that are borrowing money from us, if the default rate is more than 10%, I beg, let's just stop. They can look at it around that. They can define, okay, what's the percentage of defaults that we are willing to accommodate. Also, they can define around the app. They can also start to decide that, okay, you know what, this app must not go down. And if it's going to go down, we can't afford for the app to be down for more than maybe 2 hours. The app must be up and running. Also, they can say that, you know what, how do I call it now? We must ensure that we cover all our all requirements by CBN with respect to this app. Ensure that that is done. And most organizations, when it comes to regulatory, their set objective is always like, you know what, we are not doing, it must be 100%. We must be 100% compliance, as the case may be. So in this case, it's like the organization is they're starting to look at it that, okay, how what are the things that we want to put in place? What risk are we willing to accommodate to ensure that we meet this objective of launching this service, which is the app itself? So this is where strategy and objective setting comes into play. Okay, while I hope we understand what I'm saying, I hope everyone can still hear me. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much. So when we come to performance and risk assessment, this is very simple. This is the point where we begin to identify the risk, analyze this risk, and evaluate it to be able to prioritize them. And prioritization helps us to ensure that we are pushing we are using our resources for those top risks that we have identified. So if we need to expend money on a certain areas, we know where on a certain area, we know where we are pushing those funds, or we are pushing those resources. Resources are scarce, so we know where we are pushing those resources to. This is one. So in the case of this lending app, or in the case of this scenario I've been using, so the bank can decide that, okay, we're identifying the risk. We start to look at, okay, what are the risks that we can what are the risks that we can anticipate when it comes to people that are borrowing monies on this app, right? So we start to look at, maybe in this case, credit risk, the credit rating, probably the credit scores of the people that are borrowing money on the app. Also, they start to look at, okay, what are the areas of, what are the vulnerabilities of the system? That means that application itself, that app that we are about to use. Maybe it's a mobile app. What are these implications of vulnerabilities of breaches? Maybe cybersecurity breach on this app. They start to look at, okay, across it, they can actually also look at what kind of information are we collecting for people. So they're checking the baseline. They're checking the data privacy requirements, identifying risk around data, the data of the people, of the customers that are registering on the app. They are looking at, okay, another risk that they can be trying to look at is, okay, how do people adopt this system? Do they see it as a good one? Will customers embrace it as much as they have envisaged? So these are certain things that certain risks that can be identified around this app. And the sit down from performance and risk assessment, they sit down to assess this risk and prioritize it based on the likelihood of these things happening, or the impact it might have on the objective as it is. So with the fact that, okay, cyber attack. So for example, maybe they've analyzed the risk, and for them, cyber attack is a very major one. One of the things they start to look at is, okay, what can we ensure? Do we ensure that maybe there is, yes, multi-factor authentication, right, on the system? So from the user end, the app is not easily controlled by external people, or people that. So for example, I drop my phone, and somebody can just get there, borrow money on my behalf, and just walk away. So they try to ensure that they can put in maybe measures in place to for that not to happen. Also, they can start to look at, okay, in terms of, I was saying that one of the things, when the people or the customers don't really adopt that service itself. So to actually mitigate against that, one of the things that the bank can do is actually go back and look at, maybe they can run a pilot phase or do a survey ahead of the launching of that service or launching of the app. They can do a survey to see the buying, or to see the interest that the customers will have with respect to this app. So another thing, the next one I want to talk about is the review and revision, right? Now, for review and revision, is more like the other based on every control that the organization or the bank has put in place. They start to track, okay, what's the default rate? They start to track, okay, maybe they track the app usage Are our customers actually using this app? Are they using it well? What is the percentage of usage? What's the usage percentage month on month for the app? So with that, they can see if the app is actually meeting the objective, or they are getting the potential, or the perceived outcomes from the launching of the app. So this is very important for every organization. We don't just run things and just leave it to be. There must be a way where we are monitoring and measuring the performance of those things that we have put in place. So if we are like I used the example of the hiring method as it is. So hiring process. So if you are hiring, you need to start to look at, okay, the people are the hires that I'm having. So for example, one of the things you can check is that, okay, the hiring, the people we have hired over a specific period of time, what are they top performers? So it can actually help you to deduce that maybe your perception of top performance is not what it is. So maybe you wanted to hire top performers, or you have looked at these people that you have hired over a period of time as top performers. But when you're after checking or appraising or evaluating their performance over time, you see that there's something not right, because at the end of the day, it is not what you expected that you are actually seeing. So it's important that you go back and start to look at the hiring process. That can there be something missing here, and what it is that we can do to correct that. Okay, so that's what review and revision also is about. Another thing under review and revision is to understand, okay, and start to look at it based on what it is we are put in place. What has changed in our business context? Are there new policies that we need to actually put in place? So let's say, for example, initially you have fulfilled the requirement or regulatory requirement of CBN with respect to this kind of service, of the bank has fulfilled it with respect to this app. But one day the policy changes. CBN now says that for everybody that has a digital lending app, just ensure that you are conducting a cybersecurity assessment on an annual basis. That can be an additional, which is something, this is something that happened, I think it was last year, for several fintechs, right? So there was a push of a new policy that says that every financial organization or they must submit a cybersecurity assessment, right, on an annual basis. Now this is a new thing. Now, the essence of revision here is to ensure that the organization is always reviewing what it needs to do, and taking that into effect, and taking those changes into effect as quickly as possible. Now, the last one, which is information communication and reporting, is just ensuring that we are capturing every risk information at every level. Okay, so we are ensuring that we're capturing, we are sharing them with the right or relevant stakeholders as it is. It might be with our board, it might be with our management team. We're ensuring that we are doing it. Also, maybe as a result, maybe the bank also is sharing information to their regulators. With the example of the lending app, they are sharing information to their regulators, sharing information to their investors with respect to risk and how it is managed with this app as it is. So going further quickly because of our time. So that's how the ERM framework, this is just a sample way of how to actually implement that ERM framework across your, maybe a process, or across a service, or across an activity, or within your various businesses or organizations. So these are key players in enterprise risk management. Number one, board of directors. These are the people that provide oversight. They are the one that drive the culture, right? They are the one that determines the risk appetite for the organization. They determine it and communicate it to everybody. They are the ones that ensure that the right people are there to function. They assign the right people to control, to direct risk within the organization. That's the board of directors. Now we have the executive management itself, they're actually accountable for risk management, how it is done, how people understand it. They provide the resources to ensure that risk is managed appropriately within the organization, and the resources to provide the right training, right people, provide the right systems, they provide maybe right information, whatever is needed to actually manage risk within the organization. So we have risk committees. These are the ones that manage the day-to-day risk, manage day-to-day risk within the organization. You see them, they are the ones very much involved in identifying risk across different processes within the organization. They are the one that ensures that this risk is properly assessed, prioritized, and report is shared with the right people. Internal audits are mostly the ones that from time to time to check what we are doing and benchmark it or evaluate it against maybe criteria that we have set within the organization. So, for example, you might see that they are the ones that will be mostly involved in the performance monitoring, ensuring that the risk measures or risk controls that we have put in place are actually effective, and they are still suitable and adequate for the organization as it is. And the employees, you wonder what's their responsibility is for them to understand their place. They understand their roles with respect to risk, and ensure that they are carrying out uh, risk management practices within their various functions or assignments within the organization. Some of the challenges we might find when it comes to enterprise risk management is when we are very sometimes risk is very dynamic. It's not static. Things changes, our context changes, behavior changes, people changes, system changes, technology changes. So there's a lot of uncertainty. So because of this uncertainty, sometimes it's very difficult to actually even identify some risks. Some risks are there, but we can't even see them. And because of this, it's very difficult, might be difficult, more difficult to actually identify them on time and be able to manage them appropriately. So for organizations, it's advisable that we open up our minds and just look beyond to follow look beyond our immediate environment and start to look further into various things so that we can catch on risk as quickly as possible. Now, lack of a risk culture. So it's possible that the risk management, like I said, the top management might not be driving risk as much as they should. There might be a lack of commitment from the top management because we drive risk management from the top, right? So because of this risk, the organization itself does not they don't implement risk in their day-to-day activities. So they are not thinking risk. Oh, we want to do this. Nobody is actually taking the time to look at what they want to do and address, okay, what could possibly impact on the objectives. And people just take decisions, take ad hoc decisions without considering or critically thinking about them. So this is also one of the challenges of ERM. Now, inadequate data and technology. Sometimes we don't have the right data or the right information. We don't have the right information to tap into so that we can make effective decisions. We don't have the right technology to work with. This is possible. So sometimes, as much as possible, depending on your capability as an organization, you might be good to automate, because when you automate, you can easily you can easily grab, or you can easily see, you can easily get an alert of that risk when it comes to play. And when we don't have adequate data, we can't even have enough information to work with to be able to address or assess risk within our environment. Also, resistance to change. You know how it is now. When we say we want to do something differently, there's tendency that people want to say, oh, this is how we've been doing it, and this is what works for us. We don't have to we don't have to go one way. So, for example, we wanted to this lending app. Now, when they wanted to launch it, I'm sure it would have taken some time for them to think about it. And I'm pretty sure somebody must have raised it at some point in time. It's possible you can lend people monies via the app and as it is. But the response might be, no, the rate of default and all that. Because of that human way of actually resisting change. We humans don't like anything that goes away from what it is that we are used to. So there's tendency that we don't want to take that step, and that actually delays adoption of certain things or certain strategy that we have developed, or certain innovations that we want to put to play within our various organizations. So I talked about this benefit of a strong enterprise risk management. We can allocate resources better. That means, because if we have done our risk management, we have conducted it appropriately, we have assessed our risk appropriately, we can prioritize this risk and know where to push our scarce resources to. So we can know, okay, this is what we are investing on, because this is top risk for us as an organization, and this is what we want to manage at this time. So we can push the scarce resources into that area. Now, if you manage risk appropriately, I did talk about the fact that we become more sustainable. The business becomes more sustainable. It becomes more resilient. And when we are that, when people know that we are capable of meeting or mitigating any challenges or any disruptions or that comes our way, there's increased confidence in us as a business, as an organization, because they know we do our due diligence and we are always prepared, right? Also, reduce surprises and losses. So we have checked all those things. I'm going to hire somebody, I've done my background check, so I've reduced any surprise that might come to me. Okay, so I find out, oh, this person for one reason had a challenge with this organization, and this is what I resolved. So I prepared my mind that, okay, this is what this is what this person have done. So when I hear it at another time, it's not new to the organization, because you have done your due diligence to understand the person that you're hiring. In the case of the app, if you're looking at it, you have ensured that you have put in place maybe data privacy policies and all that to guide against any kind of breaches. So there's no, you have defended the organization against maybe penalties or fines, or as the case may be. Then long-term value creation, because you're resilient, you're sustainable, then you can continue to provide the value via the app. Not just that, because you're even revising, that you have a strong enterprise management that ensures you that you're reviewing and revising what it is that you have. You ensure that this system is continually available, continually adequate, continually suitable for the organization and for your customers in place. So I didn't want to stretch beyond this. So I want to say that I just want to round up with this, please. I understand that risk sometimes can be a perception. So risk is relative to different people. But whenever we are actually carrying out risk, it's important that despite the relativity, when we are carrying out our risk management practices, I want to leave us with this. And I think some of the principles that are based on ISO 31000, that's risk management principles. One of them, I'm going to make, there are actually 8. So whenever we are carrying out our risk management, some of those principles we should consider is that we must be inclusive. So we should not carry out risk management in isolation, right? We must get information from the right people. We must communicate. We must actually consult with the right people, all right, when it comes to risk management, because we have people that know more than us with respect to this. So we must ensure that we are carrying them along. Our risk management must be structured and it must be comprehensive. So you're looking at the app, but we are not just looking at credit risk. When I was talking about it, we are not looking at, okay, default rates alone. We are looking at what could happen to the system. That's the app itself. We are looking at what could happen with respect to compliance. So we must ensure that our risk management is it's comprehensive and well structured. We must have a particular approach to it. We must define an approach to it and follow that approach consistently, so that when we are measuring and monitoring, we have consistent results that we can follow. We have something that we can benchmark against. We can look at, oh, what happened in last year, again, what happened in this year with respect to this, and actually evaluate our results with this. Also, our risk management we must take best available information. That's it. That we must ensure we have the right information when we are carrying out risk management. Consider historicals, consider forecasts, ensure that we are talking to the right people, getting the right information. We must make use of best available information. When we are managing risk, like I said, also it is very relative. So risk management, we must consider people. We must consider human factors, the culture of the organization. How does the organization do its things? How can we embed it? So this is important. Who are the people we are working with? Consider the biases of the people we are working with and ensure that this biases is not what is influencing our decision, but we are making our decision based on the right information and that we have. Now also, and I think I just want to have this finally, risk management must be integrated. As I said, ensure that we are applying risk-based thinking at various activities with our various processes within the organization. That means whatever we are doing, risk management Our practices, risk management must be embedded into it, into our various functions. If we want to install something as simple as an appliance, we must have a risk-based approach to it. As simple as iron, as simple as a new process, as simple as a new activity, we must consider and ensure that risk management is actually embedded in every assignment, in every policy, in every procedure or process or functions within our various organizations. So on this note, I want to drop my mic. And I would like to say, do we have any questions as it is? Any questions? I want to believe we have people on the call. And at one point, I did not disappear. Hello.
Hi, you can hear you.
Okay.
All right.
Mercy. Okay, let me go. Okay.
Yes, I'm right here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, please, do we have any question? At this point, you are free to ask your question. We'll take one or two and then we move on to the next trainer. Any question, please? All right, in the absence of none, I think we are going to be moving on to the next session. And the person who All right, everyone. So we are done for the first session. Yes, the slide is going to be shared on the group as usual. Okay, please, can you share one or two insights on what you have learned today since we do not have any question? Please feel free to unmute yourself or make use of the chat room. Can we just have one or two persons? What have you learned today?
Good morning, all.
Thank you so much. Please go ahead.
I'd like to just share one or two things that I gained during the training. The number one is importance of ERM, that is enterprise risk management, that it enhances decision making. Also, it protects assets and reputation. It also improves regulatory compliance, among others. Then I also learned that the key players in RM, the major one is the board of directors, followed by the executive management, the risk committee, internal auditors, as well as employees. I think that is just one of the takeaway from the class.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kayode, for your insights. Thank you. Please, any other person?
Right. Good afternoon, everyone.
You're welcome. Please go ahead.
All right. My big thank you goes to the presenter. My area of concern, not really concern, just a kind of takeaway, like you said, is the dynamics of risk, ERM, enterprise risk management. The dynamics. There is not a straight jacket process that you have to follow, even though the structure is already there through the is it CS? What's that? The process is already there, but the application, there's not a straight jacket way to handle it because there are several factors that are involved, like the presenter said, the people with several case study that she gave. So for me, application is dynamic. So in that way, I look forward to addressing them, having the structure and the system at the background, then addressing the current application that is applied based on the project that is taken. So I think for me, it's quite an eye opening and it's something to stick to. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rick. Thank you so much. It means you've been paying attention. Okay, so please, can we have one more person?
Hello. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone.
Okay, please go ahead. I'm free.
Yeah. My question is this. How do we, as an organization, how do we qualify risk? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. How do we qualify risk? How do we rank risk?
Okay, Shola, please. There is a question here for you. How do we rank risk?
So thank you. Sorry, I didn't see. Is it unfair, right? So
Yeah, I'm free. Yeah, I'm
thank
free.
you. Colin. Okay, so ranking risk is actually relative to different organizations based on several factors. It can be based on your capability as an organization, based on your appetite. You know what I talked about your appetite for risk, which is your the amount of risk that you are willing as an organization to take to be able to meet certain objectives. So some organizations, so this is just an example, depending on your own business context,
Yep.
some people might define risk on financially. So they can say that, you know what, if the loss I'm going to incur is going to be more than a certain amount, then that is
Percent.
too risky for me. So they can now rank it and say, okay, if it's up to, let's use an example. If the loss is up to 1 million, then this is very high risk, and this is what I'm going to do about it. If the loss to me is 500,000, let's say it's just medium, and maybe this is how we are going to manage it. Or if the loss is now maybe like, let's say 20,000, 50K, we can manage it, we can just accommodate it and move on or do something about it. Do you understand? So it's relative to different organizations. So that's an example of financial ranking. You can also rank your risk based on what's called, maybe like I said, depending on your context, maybe how it affects your customers,
Okay.
maybe or reputation to you. So if it damages our reputation, like people just say a little thing, maybe people give bad reviews of us on social media, terrible reviews or something like that, and it damages, or people start to um uh people start to come to us less, like, then we can say this is very high. So relatively depending on your business context. Now, I can say that if this thing dips into my savings, maybe I want to take so I want to run a business, or I want to carry out a project. And I can tell myself that, okay, based on my savings, if this thing takes my savings out by 50%, it's high risk, then maybe I'll start to reconsider if I want to go ahead or not. But if it is just going to take 5%, I can manage it, because it's just taking 5% of my savings, and I think I can accommodate that as a person. So your ranking of your risk is dependent on your context, especially what it is that objective you're trying to meet. So most organizations, actually, in a real sense, actually, you as an organization, you need to have a what we call a risk management methodology or
Okay.
a risk management plan, where some of these things would have been defined. based on your own business context.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Thank you, Humphrey.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Humphrey, for your question. I believe you've gotten your answers to your question. All right. So without further waste of time or without further ado, we are going to be moving on to the next session. The second trainer is already on the call. He will be taking us on corporate communications, branding, and marketing, and is none other than Mr. Muyiwa Olubajo. You're welcome, sir, to the class. Please, you can take it off from here.
All right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's good to be among the very elites in Nigeria and all over the world. I'm sure that we have a lot of people who are not even from Nigeria, who are not here in Nigeria, who are probably in the abroad. You know, somebody used to say that if you go to a country and you do not see any Nigerian, then that country is most likely not a fertile ground. Who agrees? Who disagrees? Anybody? Anyone who is not in Nigeria, can you counter my argument or my, what's that thing called? My thoughts around this. You know, when someone said it to me, I'm like, okay. You know, when you start to look at some people, when they tell you that they have a brother in Kazakhstan, and all these other places, you start to wonder, like, what's going on? Is that even a country? All right, please, you're going to be using the chat box. Feel free to unmute your mic. This is not an e-learning course, right? There's a difference between e-learning, online learning, and instructor-led. All right, so it's very important that we understand these differences. All right, so if you're in my class and you're standing right in front of me and I ask a question, I believe that it is your prerogative to answer me. You know, I can't be talking for an hour, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and then I do not get a response from anybody. So, all right, are we good? Are we good, anybody? Yes, no, yes, no. So I know that people are actually here. I don't know.
Yes, we are good, sir.
No, not you, not you. You are the organizer. I want to be, the Transformation College is very magnanimous, you know. It's a free class, so everybody can just hop in and hop out. All right, good. Humphrey, thank you very much. Any other person? I need about 10, and then we can kick off. All right, any other person? I know that I think I reserve the right. Thank you very much, Mr. Jackson. I think I reserve the right to remove people from this class if I did not get a response. Let's see, is that right? I can remove people from the class if I did not get a response from them.
Right on, sir.
I can do that, right? Thank you very
Yes,
much.
sir.
Yes, because it's very important. You know, if this class is not as important to you, then I don't think you should be here. All right, let's tell ourselves the truth. Okay, thank you very much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My name is Muyiwa, and I'm here to discuss with you. I'm not here to lecture. I'm not here to teach. I'm just here to share. All right. Okay, are we good? Good to go? I'm going to be discussing about three broad things, right? And I'm sure that the slides will be shared with everyone here. All right, so let's not teach, let's talk. All right, let's talk, okay? And hold on one second. Let me try to see if I can share my slides. But whilst at that, how many people here, if you're a professional that work in an organization, can you please indicate in the chat box? If you're an entrepreneur, can you please indicate in the chat box? If you're looking to become a business owner in the near future, please can you indicate in the chat box? Please, I need 10 responses. Otherwise, I will not even start. 10 responses, please. Then we can start officially. Then we can start to discuss. All right? Go ahead. I'm looking at the chat box. I really don't think I can see anybody. I don't think I can see anybody speaking in the chat box. Please, I need responses. All right? Like I said, you know, look at my madam has told I'm looking to be an entrepreneur. Thank you very much. Who else? Who else? Thank you very much, Nathan. Who else is here? Who else is here? Okay, trying to see. Please, do I have the permission to? Okay, Okay. Who else? Okay. Okay, sorry, 1 second. Okay, good. I think I'm good now. All right, so let me try to go to the chat box. Who else? Who else is here? Chat box, okay. I want to become an entrepreneur. Kyle, thank you very much. Humphrey, I'm an entrepreneur. Okay. Who are the professionals? Where are the professionals here? All right. If you know you work in an organization, please let's indicate. All right. If you know you work in an organization, I work at a Go. Thank you very much, Amalara. Who else? I have just how many people here? One Eminence, a Royal Majesty. I'm looking to be an entrepreneur. Okay. All right. 3, 4, just 4 people. Come on. We have about 30 people in this class now. Please, let's do this quickly. Who else? Thank you. Abubakar, looking forward to owning my business. What are you doing right now? If you're looking forward to owning your business, yeah, I'm sure you're working with someone at the moment. All right. Okay, so what are you doing right now? Okay. So today we're going to be speaking about branding, communication, and of course, marketing. So let me change the what's that thing called? The arrangement: communication, branding, and what? And marketing. Communication, branding, and marketing. It's very intentional for me to ask who the entrepreneurs are here, who the professionals are here. It's very important. I asked the question intentionally, and this is why, right? Now let's start with the professionals, the ones that are hiding, all those people that work with Shell and Chevron and all these big banks in Nigeria and the abroad. Let me shock you, right? And this is it. You know, you can't say that you're maybe, let me use the word, maybe executive director, maybe the next, maybe close to the MD, GMD, AGM, and all this very fanciful position, if you do not have some certain skills around very, very effective and efficient communication. In fact, I don't think that you can even lead a team. You can be a leader or a leader if you do not have effective communication skills, right? There's a reason why there's something called communication. Communication will mean what? Anybody? Let's start from there. Communication. What is your understanding? Not talking. No. You know, there's a difference between talking and communication. All right. Now I think I need someone to unmute and speak. Messi, can that happen? Can you make that happen for me? Does anyone have access to unmute their mic and speak?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Because it feels like I'm the one. It feels like you're the only one in the class. All right. Anyone? Humphrey, Rich, Ismail. Who else is here? Abubakar. Anyone? Feel free to unmute and speak. Let me hear your thoughts. Let me just hear you. Go ahead. Go ahead, please. Go ahead, anyone.
Good day, sir.
Go ahead,
Let me
sir.
try.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
No, come on, go ahead. Okay.
Communication simply means the act of passing information and receiving feedback.
Thank you very much. I like that. Thank you very much. Any other person? Any other person? Any other person? Please, any other person? Like I said, you know, you can't be a leader because a lot of people want to start their business. A lot of people want to be entrepreneurs. A lot of people want to be this and that. A lot of people want to attain a certain fanciful position in their offices. It's very important that this is part of a feature that you should that you should have as a leader. Any other person so that we can quickly start?
Okay.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Communication is the essential process of exchanging information, ideas, and messages within an organization.
Maybe Sound like you should take this class. Who else is that? Come on, go ahead. Go ahead. Who else? Go ahead. I thought somebody else wanted to speak. Go ahead.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear. I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, okay. Communication is also sharing information. You know, you share information, you share your ideas, your thoughts, or your feelings. And this information, this communication is between two or more people. And communication generally involves the sender, the message, the channel which the communication or the message is going through, and also the receiver. And feedback also to confirm understanding. And that's what communication is.
Very much. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. I really do appreciate your input. Thank you very much. What is corporate communication? And if you look at this slide, like I said, the slides will be shared with you. It's a strategic management of communication within and outside the company. That means it's internal and it's external, right? It's internal and there's external communication. So, you know, as we drive along this training program or this 1 hour or less than session, it's very important that you start to align this conversation to what? To your dream organization, like, you know, for people that want to become entrepreneurs, for people who are already work in an organization, start to align it to, because that is what makes it make sense, right? That is what makes it what makes sense. You have to bring life to this particular thing called what? Communication, branding, and what? And marketing. All right. It's a strategic management of communication within, internal, and what? And external. What are you communicating? All right. It says align organizational goals towards stakeholder expectation. Your stakeholders are also internal and what? And external. Internal stakeholders mean that what? People that work within your what? Your organization. As a leader, you have people who work in admin, who work in sales, who work in marketing, or who work in whatever department, HR and the likes. It's very important that when you're communicating, it needs to be clear. It needs to be what? It needs to be clear. People can actually comprehend what it is that what you're saying. There has to be almost zero ambiguity in what you are saying, which means that what you're saying has to make sense in the local parlance, right? And you know, it can make sense. You know, you can't communicate something that you have no idea about. You can't communicate something that you have no expertise around. You can communicate something that you have no passion. Passion, very important. Passion, you know, some people do work and they do it like based on what? Let me just work. Let me just do my night. For professional people that work in a corporate organization, they have asked us to communicate. I've said it. If you like, understand. If you like, don't understand. They have asked us to what? To send what's that thing called? Use digital marketing to send a lot of information to our clients, external. Whether they comprehend, they don't comprehend, it's not my business. If you look at our Instagram handle, our Facebook handle, I've communicated. Whether the stakeholder is able to comprehend, it's a thought-provoking message positively, that is not your business. Then you have not successfully communicated. Are we together? Are we together? Includes branding, PR, media, relationship, and internal messaging. All right. Okay, let's quickly move on. Are we together? Communication versus what? Versus comprehension. Communication versus what? Versus comprehension. It says here the ability to communicate in one basic factor that separates human beings and what? And animals. It is the ability to communicate effectively that sets individuals apart. That sets what? Individuals apart. And it breaks it down into what? Various types of communication skills. Says one is expressive, one is listening. Very important. Listening, and what? Emotional skills, and for what? Managing overall process of communication. These are three very important important skills that you need to have to be able to say you are very good at communication. You are very good at at communication. Expressive. When you say expressing, you are able to express yourself. You know, I tell people, like I said earlier, you know, you can't say that you want to express yourself for people to comprehend if you do not even have a clear understanding of the subject matter. If you do not have a clear understanding of the subject matter. It's very, very important. As an entrepreneur, a lot of people will say that, yeah, I don't just like to talk. Oh, me, I'm at the back end. There's no such thing as the back end. I say it with all chest full. That business will almost never succeed. So you are as an entrepreneur. If you're looking to become an entrepreneur, you now say, I'm going to hire a sales and marketing team that will be discussing and helping me, go to markets and doing blah, blah, blah. Nobody can understand your business more than you do. If whoever you have hired or whoever is on your team understands your business more than you do, then that person should be CEO. That person should be what? Should be the CEO. Then you should take the passenger seat. Like I said, we're discussing here. The slides can be shared. You can read through it. You can understand it. You can digest it. But let's have a conversation here. You have no business.
Hello, sir.
Go ahead, sir. Mr. Godwin, right?
Yes, I want more clarification on the statement you just made a few minutes ago regarding if your employees gets to know more about your
what's up with it, bro?
More than you. He has to be the CEO.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, how do you
Man,
manage
them bitch ass niggas was trying to
how do you do what?
Paid outside for Guatemala.
How do you manage this situation?
I don't know what these niggas be saying. With Khalid.
Somebody's talking in the background, so I'm not sure who I'm listening to here. Okay.
And then this motherfucker.
Okay.
Then this motherfucker, Khalid, he just go ghost on a nigga. He ain't picked up the phone since last night. Gave me a nigga number. Told me you called him. Didn't even tell the nigga I was calling him.
Okay, Messi, are you there?
I don't know what be up with that nigga.
Oh dear.
Like I said, this is a global training program, right? So we have a lot of people.
All right. Can you hear me now? Is it better?
Yes, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
All right. I was trying to find out, how do you manage this as a CEO of an organization? Your role is to transfer the ideas, the vision, the marketing skills that is required to your employees. Now, for them to be able to go out, you said that the CEO must be going out all the time. I need to understand that if he has to be the one doing all the job by himself, how does he, wouldn't that be a limitation still on his own side? If he has to be the one to do the marketing, if he has to be the one to be talking all the time, if he cannot delegate, or I don't know. I'm trying to find out, am I being heard?
Yes, you are. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for that, Rick. I appreciate. So let's be clear here, right? I'm not saying that you should not hire a sales and marketing team, right? I'm just saying that there is your sales and marketing team ought not to know more than you do. You conceptualize the business, you conceived the idea, and you put the idea to reality, right? The growth of the business significantly lies with you. The vision and the mission of the business sits with you. Where you intend to have the business in the next 3, 5, 10 years completely sits with you. And the vision needs to be communicated, whether to internal people, your sales marketing team, or the external people, which are your clients. You have no business in business if you do not have clients. Are we clear? At least that makes sense, right? You have no business in business if you do not have a business, and your business is your client. Even government organizations have clients. You get? So I'm saying that you are the chief marketing and communication officer of your organization. You can have a fantastic talker like myself. I'd like to pride myself in that. You can be that. You can have the top-notch, fine-looking young lady, handsome guy who gets on top of their computer, gets or turn on their videos and do fantastic short clips and pushes it out and be like, wow, good, great, and all that. But I'm saying that as a person, as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, you are the chief marketing officer, branding officer, communication expert of what? Of the organization. You are the chief. You can have people who work with you. You can direct them, like you said. You can discuss with them, tell them that, okay, this is our vision. This is what we're going to. This is our go-to-market strategy. This is this and that and that. But it is your own job. You can't be amongst peers. You can't be in an association. You can be in a club. What's the thing called? A social club. You can be in, for those who are religious, the churches and the mosques, in your environment. And as a chief marketing officer, CEO of, I always tell people, I don't even understand why they say CEO. See, executive. Executive is a big word. If you're not a chief marketing officer of your organization, then I don't see that business going long term. My thoughts, and I'm almost certain that I'm valid. That thought's very, very what? Very valid. You can have an army of people who would help you with a lot of areas, digital marketing, social media channels, very eloquent people and all that. Yeah, like you said, you can do it all on your own. At the end of the day, the accountability when it comes to the marketing and branding and the communication of the organization sits with what? With the executive officer, which is the managing director, owner, whatever it is that the nomenclature that people use nowadays. Right? Are we good? Rick, can we move quickly? Are we good? Do you have any questions?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
It's very important. Expressive listening skills and emotional skills. We discussed this expressive. You need to be able to be eloquent. You need to be able to say these things clearly. You need to be able to make it believable. All right. Listening skills is very important. You can't talk without, you can't have a business that does not have a demand. You can't have a business that does not have demand. I don't know what business in this world that people do, except you are into money laundering. I don't know whether even cocaine dealers have demands. So I don't know the business that you do as of today, that one can do as of today, that has not been conceived based on what? Based on demand. And which demand means input, right? You're able to listen, to understand what's it called? Business need, market need, economic need, stakeholder needs, for you to be able to say, okay, you know what? I have a solution for this. If you have not been able to do this properly, all right, if you're not been able to itemize this properly, then you have even failed already. There are some businesses that, once they just kick off like this, and they open and they cut ribbon and all that, it just takes about a couple of months and bam, down the drain. So as stakeholders, what's that thing? As entrepreneurs, who are looking to become business owners, now your idea, was it conceived from what you have been able to get from what? From people. And how do you get it? By listening. Listening are used to obtain messages or detailed information from other individuals. This helps to give clarity on how a person feels and think about you, or get a good understanding of the next person. Very important. Emotional skills for managing the overall process of communication help to recognize the required information and develop a strong hold on the existing rules of communication and interaction. It's very important. Emotional skills. I work with a professional training organization, okay? And we do a lot of training programs, technical training programs, non-technical training programs, and we do quite a lot. And, I thought about it. Usually it's always in January. People go to church in December 31st. I know that I'm also a guilty party, So most times I just go to church to cross over so that, if there's going to be rapture, at least I'm in church on the 31st. God can even consider me, you guys, at least you are in church on the 31st, though, going into first, something in your head just tells you that I think it's on the 31st night into 1st of January. That's when people will be called to heaven. So let me start the new year in church. So you can see, in fact, if for people who do a lot of data analytics and all that in the religion sector, in the religious houses, especially Christians, they find out that they get an incredible boom in terms of audience of worshippers in their church on the crossover night into the 1st of January, because of people who are like, let me just be in church. And you will be amazed at, a lot of requests that people have, a lot of confession that people have, a lot of what's that thing called, declaration that people have. Now they call that thing New Year resolution. Thank you very much. New Year resolution. And this year I must be this. This year I must have this. This year I must have that. This year I must have certain things X, Y, and Z. 70, 60, 50 percentage wise of a lot of people do this. Whether you're a religious believer or non-believer, you have, okay, this is a new year. This 2026 that we're going into, I must have this X, Y, and Z. Now, if some of those things that you're looking to tick off your bucket list aligns with what? With empowerment, professional development, promotion, then I can tap into that emotion. I can tap into that thought. Like, what you always say, you come in December, you say a lot of things. January, there's ginger. I need to get this done. I need to get that done and all that. February, so I know that this ginger, this New Year resolution goal and aspiration sometimes only ignites through the first quarter. By March, life has happened to a lot of people here. Then people start to default, make excuses and all that. So before then, let me leverage on that. A lot of people will tell you that, man, I've been in this organization for a lot of time, for a donkey years. They brought one new guy and they brought the guy and the guy became my oga and stuff like that. In my head, I'm like, look at yourself. What value are you adding to your organization as of today? Have you been in a position in your organization for the past 6-7 years without promotion, without a raise, without an official car for the very fancy ones and all that? You're tapping into people's emotion. I'm not even telling you that, I do Microsoft training. Come and enroll. Come and subscribe to your Cisco training. Come and subscribe to your IT GRC, ISO courses. Come and subscribe to become a business analyst, become a project manager, become an IT professional, become an AI expert. If I start with that, then it really doesn't make any sense. Let me start with, making it sound like I understand you. Me, I am a solution word provider. I understand you. You can't keep saying that you're doing X, Y, and Z. And now let me tell you what it is that you need to do. That is what separates a salesperson from a consultant. Now, if your business is not built or your communication skill is not aligned to you becoming like people perceiving you as a consultant, as an herbalist, then you have a problem. Like I said, this is discussion. All right. And I would like to get a lot of thoughts. I would like to get a lot of, inputs in this particular training program. All right. Let's move on quickly. Effective communication in what? In marketing. Who can read this for me? Who? Anybody? Can anyone please read number 1, 2, and 3 for me? Anybody? Please unmute your mic and read if you can see my screen. Go ahead quickly. All right. I need to be sure that people are actually listening to me. Anybody? Anyone? Come on.
Okay, sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly, sir.
Right.
Ma'am.
Okay, so when it's a matter of business success, the importance of effective communication skills cannot be underrated.
Business was success. The importance for your business to succeed, as the communication skill is a huge prerequisite. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, so when a piece of communication is direct, relevant, thought-provoking,
and compelling, you can see that all my analogies in the what's it called before now, speaks to around thought-provoking, compelling. You know, people will say that, I think it's my dad's second wife is the one in charge of my destiny and it's not making me get promotion. Oga, auntie, is a lie. People believe in that. It's possible that those kind of things happen, but at least help yourself. Don't always blame others but yourself. Thought-provoking, compelling. It needs to make sense. It needs to resonate with people. Otherwise, you are not communicating. You are only speaking. You are not communicating. You're only what? Or only speaking. Go ahead, ma'am. It prompts what?
It prompts the audience, that's the listener or reader, to action.
It provokes them to action. You provoke people to like, man, Oga, see, let us discuss. When do you have time? I need to come to your office. Can I call you? Do you have an email address? Do you have an office that I can come sit with? I need to come and see what you have said. See, I need to come and sit with you so that I can also tell you my own main problem. If you're not a problem solver, then you're not a business owner. And how do you become a problem solver? Is by clear what? Communication and what? And marketing. Persuading people to make a move is not magical. It's not abracadabra. No. It's about effective what? Communication. It's about what? Effective what? Communication. And communication can only be achieved by anyone through what? The use of simple tools. Tools is not necessarily technical tools. It's not necessarily IT tools. It's not necessarily social media proficiency. No. Never. These tools helps you understand why what any message is efficient or not. You know, you need to be able to think. You know, they always say, think before you speak. Otherwise, you only be speaking and not communicating. You only be speaking and not what? And not communicating. And that's why there's comprehension, connection, credibility. You know, there is a contagious. Everybody says MTN everywhere you go. In fact, you know, in football, for football lovers, when what's it called? Fabregas throws pass, they say, MTN. For those who understand my analogy, say MTN is what? Connecting what? People. Because most times, often than not, his pass is almost what? Accurate. He gets to what? His intended what? Teammates. In my head, when you hear connecting people is like MTN. You know, there is this comprehension and connection that you have to build, and there's a credibility. Credibility is very important. You know, when I used to tell my children, I said, if you talk too much, sometimes when people talk too much, like aimlessly, you tend to tell a lie. In trying to convince people, like, see, daddy, you want to sugarcoat something. You know, people say, I was not lying. I was just scoping you. You lie on that. You lie. You use scope. I'm just scoping you. I just scope you. No. So it has to be, because when your stakeholder, external here, figures out that, okay, what you are saying, you are sending a dummy. Then there's nothing you want to say again. In fact, there's nothing else you want to say again that will resonate with people. They'll be like, that person lies a lot. That business is a fraud. So in trying to communicate, there also has to be a very significant word. Otherwise, you know, when you're saying that, you know, I tell my teammates, I say, when you're saying 75% of this and that suffer from illiteracy, and as okay, you have to quote something by a report from so, because if they now say that, okay, what you have said is a lie. No, I only said it based on these reports. So if you look at a lot of marketing materials, you can see that when people are making a statement of fact perceived, they always put that caveat according to a report from 2023 Gazette, and like that. That's why people always use allegedly. So that way, it helps you. It helps you in terms of when the information that you might perceive to have communicated is not true. All right. The first model was primarily created as a tool for appraising the impact of advertising and marketing material. Like I said, if whatever you're throwing out there if it's not provoking thoughts, that's why I don't know. Like I said, this is not a training program. This is me, pouring out my thought, and I think that I've deserved that right to be having this conversation with you based off of my experience. And I always tell people in my organization, myself and my boss, we discuss a lot of things around, maybe we should get like a third party digital marketing organization that will be doing quite a number of, digital marketing for us, manage our social media channels, and create content for them. I'm like, my boss will always say that, how can somebody from the outside of the organization help create better comprehensive content than you that do the work? People are always very good to abdicate, not delegate. Let me just push it out to a digital. It works. It works. But I'm just saying that, is it effective? Is it really effective? What would have been your best bet? Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Ismail, right? Okay, maybe somebody should help me mute. All right. You can't say that I want to get an external person to help me promote my business and can do a better job than I do. I don't know. Because you are actually in the business. All right. Techno and Airtel are some of the top training Nigerian brands that use the 4C model, because it's about evaluating what it is that you have communicated, what material that you have put out, whether internal or what external. And I think we have discussed that. Comprehension, connection, making the connection with communicated ideas or message means what? Not only the audience understand, but it resonates with them. You are able to tap into their emotions. You are able to tap into their emotions. That's what makes it like, man, this makes a lot of sense. You're able to tap into their emotions. Comprehension, it needs to be clear. There's no ambiguity. I always tell people, I said, if you're, when somebody is saying that, they ask you a question and you're like, I don't know how to put it to, I'm thinking of a way to put it. Okay, you don't understand it well enough. You don't. Go and sit down and understand it. Then, in your sleep, you can what? You can, when you hear, what's that thing called? When you hear Asha singing Eya Adaba, she can sing it in 20, 30 different ways. Because it is our material. It is ours. So your business is yours. You can communicate it in several ways, and you still what? And you still make what? That impact. It will still make that impact. All right. We talked about credibility. We talked about what? Contagiousness. Well, let's move on quickly. Any question, please feel free to, because if you drop it on the chat box, I'll probably look at it later when the training, when I'm done with my presentation. But if you can unmute and interrupt, I'll be that will be fantastic. That will be what will be fantastic. It's a uniformity in brand communication. Creating brand awareness is the beginning of the process of building a strong brand, and is a major goal for marketing. People need to associate your brand with something. As in, you need to have like a distinctive brand identity. Whenever I'm amongst my peers, I'm anywhere. In fact, a lot of people, my clients, which a lot of them have become my friends, when they see me, the first thing they're like, hey, I don't find you. You get one training where I won't do. They look at me and the first thing they think about is that when it comes to you, empowerment, when it comes to personal development, this guy is the go-to guy. It's a brand. It is a what? It's a brand. And your brand don't have to be like, you know what, I'll make I just help this person. You know, when people perceive you as, guy don't come again, let me just help this guy. That, I used to use the word, sorry, I don't know if there are any long reach people for, is it forever living products? When they come and like they are selling toothpaste and they're like, this guy, it's not like I don't have toothpaste in the house. But let me just patronize this lady. She has come to this office like almost 10 times now. She at least transport fare. You know, that one is, I don't know what kind of brand to call that. That's a parasitic brand, if you ask me. Because what I'm getting from you is of no value. I'm just looking at, let me just patronize you. Let me just say, let it not be like I did not do anything for you. That's also a brand. All right? That's also a what? A brand. But when people see you and the first thing, you know, that's why I always keep saying, you are the chief marketing officer, chief branding officer of your organization. People kind of feel more comfortable when they know that they are talking to the owner. Then when people say, go and call your guy, because they feel like decision can be made. When you promise someone, you know, imagine you having a tete-a-tete with the vice president of the president around the setting policy and everything. You know that, you know what, this person can say that, okay, that's it, final, and that is final. When they always call President Tinubu, let me know his Mr. President Tinubu, the chief marketing officer. A president is the chief marketing officer of his country. Is the chief marketing officer of his country. So it's here. The brand, your brand means everything about your business. And whatever you're communicating has to be in line with that, your brand. You must be known for something. As in, you must be known for one thing and one thing only. My organization is known for what? For empowerment. For human capital development. As in, it's amazing the what's it called? The database of learning and development HR people that I have over the years that I've been doing this business. People still coming from the abroad, and you know, for my contemporaries outside of the country still reach out to me and say that, you know, somebody will still call you and say, I got your number from, because the power of referral lies in the quality of your brand. Lies in the quality of what? Of your brand. Portable as a brand, or being a non-entity, pardon me. What is a brand? And some people resonate towards it because there is that end goal. He wants likes, comments, so that his what's that thing called? The TikTok thing can increase and they can make a lot of money from it and all that. It's a brand. Consumers buy a recognized brand because of an already established perception of that brand. Of that brand. So say branding is not make I just create logo. No. Let me just have a mission and vision statement. All those, no, it's not. It is something that you consistently have to work on from time over time towards to better improve what the brand. When I know a particular, let me just mention Providence Bank. When I started working with Providence, when I started banking with Providence Bank, in fact, what is the distinctive attribute of Providence Bank when they first came into business? It was their ATMs were always dispensing mints. So when you're driving around Lagos or anywhere that their ATM is positioned, you always look out for Providence Bank. When you're, for people like my friends, people on this call that like Owambe, because I'm going for one today. I'm just driving, I'm like, let me just go to any Providence. I know that I'm going to get mint there. Very almost certain. That was then. I don't know of now because I don't really do much of that anymore. Okay, it's the brand perception. Money points today. The reason why people have that money point thing, POS or point of sale machine, is because they know what? They know that it's almost impossible because of their uptime It's almost impossible for you to use a money point, a point of sale machine, and you get the what's that thing called? Denied or whatever, all those error messages. You can even make a transfer directly onto that POS machine, and alert comes up immediately for people that go to the supermarket. They pride themselves in that their brand, and they leverage it. They leverage it, and people see them and say, you know what, that is it. That is what, that is it. It's the brand. iPhone users use iPhone primarily, not for the functionality, but for the brand. For the brand. iPhone 7, I don't know. My iPhone is way light years behind. Well, iPhone 17, 18 users and all that. You know, people are waiting eagerly for the new version to come out. Not for, you know, they're not waiting because they know that this new brand, this new version of the iPhone comes with certain features. No, for the fact that it's a new one. I'm using a brand new iPhone, new release. That's it though. People flew into Dubai to go and buy these ones. The first release. It's the brand. With a great brand, trust me, you're good as an entrepreneur. With a great brand, you are what? You're good. As a person in an organization, that you work in an organization, and the way you carry your organization as giving the organization as an incredible revenue. Trust me, if you tell the organization that I think that it's high time that I start my business, the CEO will give you a stake in the organization. I say, okay, where are you going to? You are the face of the organization. Yeah. When someone says somebody is the face of the organization, it's like you then sabi. So I'm not. This does not only apply to entrepreneurs. Also applies to what? To professional people who work in an organization. The goal of every organization is what? Is sales. Is revenue. Without revenue, every other thing you can't have ERP. Maybe you and the CEO and some people shall be using it. Without sales revenue, account department can just go and leave. Without revenue, HR department, why are you hiring? You pay them with which money? Without revenue, even I have a marketing budget from where? Is it a grant? You want to get a grant from somewhere? Are you getting a loan with 0 interest rates? Make it make sense. So every CEO, every organization, if is a revenue generating organization, then of course the brand plays a very integral part. That's why you will see that even if they hack a bank today, you will never hear it outside. Never. It will only leak. They can't come and say that. There was a fraud in our organization and release a press statement. I said, but we're able to nullify it, nip it at the bud, although we lost some monies. No, is it not the truth? Of course it is. But how does that help their brand? People will withdraw their money. In fact, the bank will literally almost close down. Brand is very, very very, very important. Internal communication, external communication, digital communication, when you talk about your social media and all that. And crisis communication, crisis, very important. Very, very important. It's not about selling. Your communication does not have to be about selling. It's about how to manage what? Crisis. How to communicate through crisis. In some oil and gas organization, they have a what's that word again? Community crisis manager. I kid you not. It's a department in the oil and gas industry in Nigeria here. A particular one that I used to work with, and I still do in a way, in a sense. They have a department, which is that department only manages crisis. Their pipeline goes through about 7 or 8 communities and all that. And the community say, no, go and speak with them. Go and speak their language in which they understand. To manage the crisis, so they don't vandalize what the pipeline. Very, very, very important. Your communication does not have to be, some people always, you can't dodge. Crisis will always happen. And when crisis occurs, the worst thing you can ever do is keep quiet. That's the worst thing you can ever do. Like this too shall pass. It will never, the only thing that will pass is your business. Your business will just pass with it, depending on the magnitude of that crisis. Because your reputation down the drain. Down was the drain. And of course, I know that, that's why I'm saying that as we progress into this thing, try to align this my conversation, because I know that it sits, you can align it to something. This crisis communication that I just discussed, you can align it to one client, one vendor that was not able to manage crisis based on a business engagement, and you discontinued the use because of what? Ineffective crisis management. And what how do you manage this? By communication. All right, are we together? Yes, yes, yes. Can anybody say yes, yes, yes? I think I've been speaking for too long. Who is here? Who is here? I need the yes, 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 please. Are we speaking? Are we making sense? I'm looking at the chat. You can see that I'm looking at the chat. All right, who is that? I might have a gift for you. Thank you, Pretty. Thank you, Rick. Thank you for that. All right, let's go on quickly. Importance of what? Corporate communication. Builds reputation and trust, strengthens stakeholder engagement. What? Supports crisis management, and what? Enhance your brand image. As in, everything is communication. Everything is what? It's communication. In my line of work, I have plenty crisis management. In fact, sometimes when my client calls me, before I pick, I'm like, okay, what engagement do I have with this client? All right, what is currently ongoing? What is, so I know that it is, I have like an FAQ brewing in my head, frequently asked questions, so that when you think, I already know how to manage the situation. In fact, sometimes your crisis can also be a point of opportunity. But people like, it's not my business, I beg, I don't care. If you want to go, make it, they go. If you want to go, let him go, I beg, I don't get time. Trust me, it will significantly damage you, damage your business. I pride myself, our organization, in referrals. Today, this week alone, I know the number of calls that I have gotten. I got your number. In fact, when they mention the people's name, I don't even know them. I don't even know them. I don't know them. That's the power of the brand. That's the power of what? Of the brand. I don't even know some of these people. When I'm like, I got your number from Dele. Oh, Dele, oh, that's fine. Oh, okay, good. That's fine. I know one Dele from somewhere. I have some people on this call that have referred a lot of people to me, and I thank you. I use that opportunity to say thank you to you. That's the power of the brand. So you can say that, okay, there's a crisis, and you're like, let me just treat it with levity. It will affect your brand, it will affect your referrals. All right? It would affect your brand, it would affect your what? Your referrals. Importance of corporate communication. Support crisis management, all this, we discussed that already. Move to tools and channels, right? Press releases, media briefings. It's always important to get ahead. When people hear something about something, it's always important before conspiracy theories start to come in. Before it starts to come in, you need to quickly, get ahead of this information, so that you want to be able to maintain, salvage company newsletter, intranet, social media, digital platforms, like that. All right? Okay, are we together? Corporate communication strategy, define clear objectives. Look at look at the flow. First and foremost, define. You identify your stakeholders. Okay, this is my business. This is who is selling it, who wants to buy it. How do I message this conversation? Say, this one is not calculus. So that's why I'm trying to break it down to the very granular, to a comprehensive form. Clear objective. This is my business. This is what I want to get out of this business. Now, who are the people that will tap into it? Now, I've identified those people. Now, I run a training organization. I have a brilliant portfolio of services or courses around artificial intelligence. Now, who are these my stakeholders that wants to buy into it? I need to identify them. Learning and development of this world, the HR managers of this world, the people who are looking to automate the processes, the people who are looking to become better, smarter managers in their various organizations with the use of artificial intelligence, have been able to identify. I'm not identifying them based off of the fact that they have money. I'm identifying them based off of the fact that it is what they want and it is what they need. There will not be a learning and development department in an organization that does not do training for their staff. Then why are you there? The day job, as they wake up in the morning, as they resume to their office, is to what? To create a training empowerment plan for the whole organization. Those are my best friends. Because those are the people that buy from me. I've been able to identify my stakeholders. Now, what is the communication? How do I communicate that to them? And what? Monitor and measure the effectiveness. Very important. If not, then you have only performed an activity. An activity, I shall have done it. I've sent it. I sent them an email. I've called. I've done cold calling. Hello, trainer does pam. And okay, all right, that's fine. Thank you. I've called them. Now, how am I able to? What is the perception? How have I been able to clearly communicate value of what? Of my business to this client? What is their perception of me? How do you monitor and measure this effectively? All right, and the challenges. Crisis handling. We mentioned that, we discussed that already. Cultural and language barriers. That's why I mentioned the Shell, the oil and gas. I already said Shell, right? Oil and gas company that, Shell is being owned by a foreigner, right? I think that's French. I think it's France or something. But they have people that indigenous people that they have hired. A lot of your uncles and aunts and brothers and sisters work with Shell, and you're Nigerians. But you can't get a crisis manager that is not in a state like Port Harcourt that is not from that area that can speak. I work with a lot of OEMs. That's why I said that this one is not a training. This is, I'm tying it to reality. I work with a lot of OEMs, original manufacturers, right? And in fact, when I subscribe my clients to their online webinars, to their online training programs, some of those OEMs are Indians. A lot of people, when you're speaking to Indians and Chinese, when they're speaking English, you can barely hear them. Maybe because we worked with them for a very long time, I can hear their accent. I can hear through their accents. But a lot of people here, if you're speaking to an Indian or a Chinese and they're speaking English, then you can barely hear. In trying to say that, it's a white man that will come and train you. It's a white man that will come and train you. You have successfully shot yourself. This is a real life thing. This happened to me. Subscribe, and the lady came back. I appreciate what you have done. Oh, man, we had a field class. The guy, but I'm sorry. Every day that after the day's training, I still go back to read my material because half of what the guy has said, I could barely understand. I could not understand. Simply, you are the one. Look at you. You're talking to me now, and I can hear you. You can hear me, and I can understand what you're saying. But your guy that I spoke to that was in the training earlier, could not what? Cannot even properly speak speak English. Does he know it? Of course he does. Does he understand the work? Absolutely. Is he a subject matter expert? Definitely. But what? It's language. Banning English. Maintaining consistency across what? Across channels. As in this, I need these things to resonate. You know, think about it, pick one line item line by line and start to, you know, attach it and align it to what? To you being that you are an aspiring entrepreneur, you're a professional person, try to tie it. I'm certain that every of these things that we're discussing here, you can tie it to something. Definitely. If you can't tie it, yeah, let's discuss it. All right? And best practices. Transparency and honesty, very important. No, I spoke about it. I just scoop them. You know, in trying to sugarcoat something, then they tell a lie. Then, of course, you have just killed the entire thing. In trying to sell, you have now used your hand to buy a very massive padlock that is not impenetrable, and you have shut down your business. Active listening. Otherwise, you can never. That's why they are people called business analysts. They analyze, they get no expectation, digest it, and what interpret it, and provide what solution via technology or any other thing. Leveraging technology for engagement. Social media has come. Thank the Lord. AI has come. Thank the Lord. Plenty of people that have English problem, just go to AI. AI can help you arrange your English. You know, so when they send me emails, I'm like, I met this guy last week. Oh God, now you talk this language. Now you write this email based off of you that I spoke to yesterday or last week. But trust me, in not being able to communicate, he has used artificial intelligence to communicate his words and thoughts. And that is why we say that, you know, technology can also help you. And that's why AI is what makes you superhuman. Leveraging technology for engagement, building a strong corporate culture. You know, when you see some people, you just kind of know that this is now the what's that thing called? When you see a chosen, I don't know who knows chosen. When you see them and they are very bright helium neon what's it called, vest, you can tell. You know, building a strong corporate culture is very, very important. Very was important. An email that comes from MTN will not say hello. It will say what? Yellow. Is yellow a word? I don't know. I don't think it's in the dictionary. But in your something just tells you that yellow means hello. It's yellow. It's a culture for them. All right? And let's go to case examples. Good practices, Microsoft Opens communication and CRS reporting. Yeah. All right. And bad practice, Meta. During the breach, they didn't manage it properly. It wasn't managed properly. Branding and marketing, quickly. Branding is what? I'm sure we've spoken about this, creating unique identity that builds trust, recognition, and strategies. And marketing is what? Strategies and actions to promote, deliver, and satisfy your customers. Otherwise, it will just be activity, like I said. And together, brand and marketing together defines who you are. Marketing drives how you communicate and grow. How you communicate and grow. Branding, you can't overflog it. You can't. Long term, people always still say, long term is what? That's your brand, is identity. Identity, even in your personal life, you have a brand. How people perceive you is your brand. Is your brand. How you communicate and deliver value is mastering the art of marketing. it's an art. That's why people look for a sales and market. That's why there's a sales and marketing department. That's why there's a marketing department, for people to be able to interpret. Because that's how you advertise yourself. Everybody advertises. I don't know. Maybe if you're working in a government organization, yeah. Well, entrepreneurs on this call, definitely they advertise. All right, importance, differentiate your competitors, drive sales and growth, build trust and loyalty, enhance reputation and visibility. You know, it's the whole what's called portfolio of benefits, but everything still lies on how you manage your brand and your marketing. And by the end of this training program, I'm going to pick on 3-4 people who are looking to start a business. Share your business, your ideas, right? And we're going to do it using this. 1, 2, 3, 4. You define your business. You identify your. I just did it for my own company, right? You define your business. You identify your stakeholders. You craft proper message. Just, message. And I need you to start to jot this down, because we're going to do this for like about 5 minutes, and we'll take questions and we'll go. All right? Good. Thank you. Challenges, I think we've just discussed this. Challenges in brand marketing, market saturation and competition. Of course, yeah. There's always competition. There's always what? Competition. A lot of business, you are not the first. Most times you are usually not the first. Not all the time. But most time, you're usually not the first. So there's this, so you have to come proper when it comes to how you channel your brand and your marketing. Your consumer preference is very important. Disruption and misinformation. If you don't properly inform, put your message out there, then budget constraints, a lot of people. But trust me, if you really, you can't give what you don't have. So a lot of people say
Hello,
that,
sir.
yes, ma'am. Are we together?
Yes, sir. Okay, so I'm just calling you.
I'm almost done. I'm almost done.
Thank you. All right.
All right. I'm just saying that, so it's market saturation, it's competition, it's budget constraints. A lot of people don't have the money. And the good brand marketing, Apple innovation. That's what I mentioned before. Everybody just wants to buy the new Apple. And poor branding, of course, BlackBerry. How many of you use it? But if you have BlackBerry now, maybe it's, you can put it in what's it called? In a museum. All right. So in all this, right, branding and marketing sits with what? Effective communication. Without that, you can get anything. Let's not lie to ourselves. This is not it can't work. It cannot. All right, it cannot. So before I go, 2 minutes, can someone who is a business entrepreneur aspiring, because you never can tell, you might have stakeholders on this call. Come on, tell me what your business is going to be like, or what your business is, who are your stakeholders, all right, and your message around it, and speak to your stakeholders on this call, because take it like we are your stakeholders. But please identify your stakeholders first, like I did mine. Anybody? I have a gift for you entrepreneurs that have said that they want to become entrepreneurs. Let's do this quickly for like 2 minutes, and then I hand over to the coordinator. Thank you. Anybody? Can anyone try? Can anyone try? Can anybody try? I said it now. I said you can't say you're an entrepreneur or business owner and you don't know how to market your company. Then I don't think you have any business becoming a business owner. So for all you that have said that I want to become an entrepreneur, this is a challenge to you. Otherwise, maybe you should rethink being a business owner. All right. And let me take questions as well as I hand over to the coordinator. Thank you very much.
Please Please, do we have any question? So we can just use 3 minutes to do that, so we can quickly go on a short break. Do we have a question, or do you have an insight to share on what you have learned so far? Can we have your time now?
Yes, Mercy. Good afternoon, Mercy. Good afternoon,
Okay,
Mercy.
sir. Please go ahead, Mr. Rick.
Yes. Thank you, our presenter, for this wonderful time of discussion. Now, it's just an acronym I want us to really talk about. You talked about, I wanted to explain, though you have talked about it, but I just want to see, because I pride myself as the CEO. So when you started punching CEO, I started laughing in my mind. So you see, I'm not trying to adopt CMO. Okay, CMO as Chief Marketing Officer, and then we also have COO. Okay, so if you look at those terms, each of them one has marketing, one has executive, then one has operation. Is it Chief Operation or Operative Manager? So Chief Operations Officer. So now in all of these, which name do you think an entrepreneur should use to address himself? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Like I earlier mentioned, thank you very much, sir. Like I earlier mentioned, what's the job? What will be the job of the chief operations officer or the chief executive officer if there are no clients? I don't know. Maybe if you have gotten a grant that has 0 interest rate, or sorry, gotten a grant that you're not looking to pay back, and you can just be paying yourself salaries for the next couple of years till you exhaust the grant and then you shut the business down. So as the owner of the company, my own recommendation, and I stand to be corrected, is that that takes precedence. The marketing officer, you are the chief marketing officer of the organization. So as a CEO, as executive of what? If you don't have any marketing responsibility, people can't see you and say that guy is the company's face. That guy is the one that drives the company. That guy is the owner of that business. If you're attending dinners or you're attending events, people can walk up to you and say that, okay, you know what? Yes, I've been looking for you. I wanted to discuss this because they know that is the brand. That is you. You are the marketing officer. You are the go-to person. Even till today, I have a lot of people that work with me in sales, in marketing and all that. I have a lot of people that do a lot of account management. I have a lot of clients that I've been able to successfully seed to them. But there are still some of my clients that they want to speak with me. It's either me or nobody. They need to speak with me. Not that they can't speak to me, not that they don't know them. They know them, of course. But they would rather want to speak with me because they feel like, you know what, I am in the best position to what? To deliver quickly, promptly, and to quality. So at the end of the day, you are the chief marketing officer. So I don't know if the CEO makes more money than the CMO, then I think
just like you say, sir, just like you say, thank you very much for that contribution and enlightenment. Just like you say, the marketing aspect of the business is a life where if there's no marketing, there's no
business,
no money.
There's no business at all. So there's no business. Yeah. So let's call it as it is. Let's call it spade a spade.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, sir.
Go ahead. You want to say something?
Okay. Yes. What will you be executing when there's no?
Oh, absolutely.
When you have not
gotten there's no execution. There's no operation. Yes. So
yes.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, sir. Over to you, Mercy.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Muyiwa. Please, a round of applause to him. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time with us. I don't know, oh, boss. Boss, do you want to say something?
No, I mean, just to support what Mr. Miwa said, the CEO is chief everything officer, and part of that everything is marketing, is sales, and is branding. I don't think there's any running away from that. So that's all.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, so we will be going on a very short break now. We'll be going on a 30-minute break and we'll be back at exactly 1 p.m. Nigerian time. 1 p.m. Nigerian time. Please do not go too far. Thank you and enjoy your break.
Okay, give me a second. Let me do something. Okay. All right. All right, please confirm you can hear me clearly. Confirm you can see me as well. Good afternoon, everybody.
Loud and clear, and we can see you.
Awesome. All right, awesome. Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be a part of this this session. Again, everybody who is here, the last session was, or the last speaker was really brilliant when he was speaking about branding and things like that. It was really, really insightful. I was also in the background. I was just laughing, as he had also shared so many insights as to how important that is for we as smart managers. So again, I'm sure what we'll be discussing today would be economics, which is something that is very, very relatable, and also, for us to also understand why this is important for us as managers to understand economics and how it can also affect us, affect everything that we do, influence and affect everything that we do, really. So give me a second. Let me put up my screen. Confirm once you can see it, please. Second. Right, Okay. All right, so please let me know once you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, all right, awesome. So let me put this on presentation mode so that we can go smoothly. All right, again, everyone, thank you very much for finding time to join us here today. So what we're going to be discussing today is pretty much economics, something that is very, very, I think it's pretty much everything that we see around us, right? It's something that you cannot ignore. It's something that ordinarily happens around you. It's something that you see on a day-to-day basis, right? We're going to try as much as possible not to make this too complex. We'll try as much as possible for this to be relatable. And of course, please feel free to share ideas, your thoughts. Please feel free to share comments, where you want to make an input. So again, we're discussing economics today. Pretty much everybody has what they would define as economics. Everybody has what they see as economics, right? And again, for me, it's just really a story about how we live our life, how we grow, how we trade, how we do business. Pretty much, others will see it as an instance where where resources are scarce and everybody's trying to use the limited resources to make something reasonable out of it. Others will see it as buying and selling. They are not wrong, other people will see it as just demand and supply, which is also great, right? Others will obviously see it as a transition between how things were done before to now in a modern age where, artificial intelligence, where use of technology, things like that. They're really not wrong. Everybody has a definition of what it really is. But at the end of the day, it has to be something that is well within your environment, something that speaks to how people live, how they grow, culture, trade, tradition, things like that. It's pretty much around basically everything around you. So again, I used to know one time where people will say, economics is a what's it called now? They say it's about need and want, how people convert scarce resources into into things that can be useful to them. So, but again, there is no one best definition for it. There's no one best explanation to it. So we're going to pretty much be talking about what economics is, why it matters, key concepts in economics, challenges, basically, So this is not going to be a very, very long one, It's just talk about some of these things on the surface and also, relate it to us as persons, as businesses, and things like that. So again,
what is economics really, right? Others will say, it's a study of how people, firms, and nations allocate scarce resources, which is not bad. Others will also say, it balances needs, wants, and limited means. Not bad again, but it just, at the end of the day, it's your own definition, right? It's your own, how you see it, how you're able to interpret it, how you're able to, see the world around you and be able to use what is at your at your disposal, to take full advantage of what you have into something brilliant, into something beautiful. Again, there's really no best way. There's no one best way of explaining it. All right. The whole idea really is for us to understand that everything around us as managers, right? We need to fully understand how well to know what we have within our means, and then of course already establish what we want to get at the end of the day. It will be very, very somehow, for you not to know where you're going and you don't even know where you're starting from. The idea is for you to be able to understand where you are and where you're going. For you to also understand what exactly you have within your means and how to best manage what you have in order to get what you want at the end of the day. So that's pretty much what economics is. And this kind of thing sometimes, it's not something where, as much as you read it in a book, right, at the end of the day, you will sit down to digest it, to say, okay, this is how best I want to utilize the resources that I have. This is how best I want to be able to take advantage of what I have to get to where I want to be at the end of the day. I mean, during the last trainer, I was saying something about, you being the chief marketing officer of your organization, and of course ensuring that you have resources to be able to for other departments to function at the end of the day. If you don't have those resources, how do you function? How do you even get to where you want to go to at the end of the day? These are all interconnected things that affect businesses, that affect persons, and also even the nation at large. There's something around, so the economics itself is broken down into two areas, right? The microeconomics, the macroeconomics. Of course, we'll come to that. Point is, you can look at economics as a person, you can look at it as a business, you can also even look at it as a whole nation at large. You can even look at it as the world at large, right? They all have environments, they all have things that affect them, and the environment around them influences the things that they do either as a business or as a person, right? So again, it's just a story about how we live, how we trade, how we do business, and how we grow. Why does it matter, right? Of course, why not, right? If you are a business person, why not, right? You would want to know how best to be able to make right decisions. You want to know how best some of the policies that have been introduced by government affect your business. You want to know how best those policies can either favor you or for you to always find a way around it. So if you have zero knowledge around economics and how it operates, how then do you function? How do you grow as a business? How do you grow as a person? So these are some of the things that we need to know as people. How do you allocate the resources that you have appropriately? How do you invest in the right places for you to be able to get returns at the end of the day? So why not, really, right? Economics is really, really things that are around us. Of course, one of the things that it also does is to also shape our everyday choices, jobs, prices, how to save, things like that. If you have zero knowledge around that, I mean, you're just going to be moving in the dark, right? Not knowing your left from your right, and that's why this is really, really important. Of course, lastly, it also connects the local and global to global. This just means that if you understand your environment, you know how best to be able to relate with other businesses or other people around you, even on a B2B basis or maybe a B2C basis, that kind of thing, right? So it just literally just puts you in a very, very, very good position, to be able to understand your environment and be able to also relate with other businesses or other nations, depending on the subject matter. So, of course, this is really, really important for all of us to understand. This is really, really important for us to be able to relate this to how we live and how we do business. And again, I mean, micro and macroeconomics. So look at it this way, right? Imagine that economics has two lenses, right? There is the micro, which is like the small lens, and then there is the macro, which is more like the big lens. The micro really talks about how economics affects individuals, affects firms, affects the everyday person, and their business. While the macro, on the other hand, talks about, the nation at large, how it also affects international trade, how it affects, the country at large. Think about people like, so for instance, now we who have one business or the other, the everyday life that we live, the everyday business that we do, the interest, the profit, and all of that we do, those are really, really microeconomics. Those are things that, are within a very, very small pocket, while if you look at it from maybe from a national level, it literally would just mean that, how your nation, does business with other countries, the monies that those countries get, from selling maybe crude oil, granules, things like that with other countries. Those are really what macroeconomics is. That's on a bigger bucket. So micro and macro really form what economics is, right? And if you look at it one way or another, right, one affects the other. So for instance, now, in the microeconomics area, say for instance, people who do businesses, those, I mean, for instance, now I probably have like a store where I sell certain things. The exchange of those things that I do, the profit that I make, literally is like a demand and supply kind of thing, buy and sell. Imagine so many people doing same thing, right? The collective activity of those people that is done is what affects the macro, which is more like the GDP now, right? The gross domestic product. That is just literally like the activities that every businesses, undertake, right? The collective businesses that people do literally makes up what the GDP is. And how the hell do you calculate GDP? If you don't have micro, if you don't have people who are doing businesses around, you really wouldn't have GDP, right? And that's really on a bigger level. Things like inflation, things like unemployment, those are macro things. Those are things that affect the country. Things that affect, say, for instance, now, as a business person, how do I make profit? That one doesn't concern the government. That one doesn't concern anybody. That's nobody's business. That's your own business. That's your own responsibility. That's what concerns you, right? And if you look at it, if you don't do business, the country doesn't have a very high gross domestic product. If the country does not fixes unemployment, it affects microeconomics. Do you understand where I'm going now? Because if there's a high rate of inflation, there's a high rate of unemployment, how do you expect people to make money? How do you expect businesses to boom? How do you expect one person to do business? So one way or another, these two elements are interconnected. And of course, if one doesn't go well, it obviously will affect the other. So microeconomics is really, really tied to macro. And of course, if macro doesn't go well, it obviously affects microeconomics in itself. So let's basically look at some of the concepts, right, in micro and macroeconomics. So for instance, there's the demand and supply. We obviously know that in business or in economics, one of the things that you need to understand is what demand is and what supply is. It will be very, very weird for you as a business person for you not to understand what the concept of demand is and for you not to understand the concept of what supply is. For someone like me who does one thing or the other, I obviously work. I mean, if I work actually in a consulting firm. If, for instance, I want to be able to make enough money or make enough revenue for the organization, I need to understand where exactly is the demand. How best am I able to supply or to provide the services that will meet that demand? As a business person, you probably might have a manufacturing company somewhere. If you don't understand the concept of demand and supply, that's a problem for you. Imagine the typical suya seller somewhere who obviously will say that he wants to probably have meat to be able to sell, probably to make his suya and sell somewhere. If he doesn't understand the concept of where do people require my suya for me to sell and how do I sell it, it becomes a big problem for him. Don't you think so? Imagine somebody who obviously will have probably sells maybe cars or so. If you don't understand where the demand is for somewhere maybe like in Abuja where you require vehicle, everybody, I mean, it's a necessity everywhere, so if you don't know how best to be able to sell things like that, then it's a problem for you, right? So it's really, really important for us as business owners, as entrepreneurs, for us to be able to understand how best to be able to know where the demand is, how best to be able to ensure that we have the right product as well as the right service to be able to provide that market that has been identified. Some of that can be also be challenging. So, and of course, that's one of the reasons why you are on this course, to be able to say, okay, what, as a manager, I have identified some of the areas that, it's like an untapped market, and if I go there, I know how best to be able to position my business to be able to see that I provide the right services, I provide the right goods, what to solve or to meet the demand of that area. Also, one of the areas or one of the concepts also is price elasticity, right? Or elasticity in general. Elasticity just talks about, how, prices change, the degree of, some of those changes and how it affects the everyday life of one person or the other. If you are very new to, so for instance, somebody who is just recently employed as maybe, will I say, a CEO or something like that, you don't know how best to be able to peg your price to be able to break into a certain market, it becomes a problem for you, right? So you need to understand how best to be able to play around pricing, be able to see how best to be able to either inflate or to be able to cut down prices to be able to meet the needs and expectation of people around you. So it's really important for us to be able to understand what these concepts are, how it really affects our businesses, how it also in the long run either make or mar our business. So it's really, really important. It's for us to also understand, customer or consumer behavior. You understanding how well to be able to envisage what the need and expectation of your customers are even before meeting that, even before the customer request for it, right? It's really, really smart of managers or CEOs to be able to envisage what customers' behavior is. What do you sense their needs are? What do you sense uh, what do you sense that they would expect in the market, right? Once you're able to identify that, and then you're able to solve that need, it becomes an advantage for you, right? So as a manager or as a business person, understanding this microeconomics, the concept of demand, supply, price elasticity, consumer behavior, and even the structures of market is really, really important for us. And this entire thing also in a way affects macroeconomics. I was talking about inflation and unemployment earlier, right? If unemployment is not solved, if unemployment, the government doesn't look into unemployment, how do you think that the everyday man will survive, right? That would grossly affect will I say per capita income. That would grossly affect how people trade or do business. Imagine if the inflation rate of this country goes even higher than what it is today. How do people survive? So all of those things collectively affect microeconomics and of course affect the nation at large. Also, right, I've talked about GDP and the growth really. This basically again, components that really affect people and affect the nation. Again, if you don't solve price, if you don't solve demand and supply, if you don't solve understanding your customer behavior and things like that, that will definitely affect the growth of either your business and the nation at large. So again, these two components, right, affect businesses, affect persons, affect individuals, affect nations, and if all of these are not seamlessly unified, it finds a way to obviously affect your business and your organization at large. I've been able to also add some of these more concepts for us to see. So for instance, now let's look at the theory of production, right? In a way, right, production really talks about how things are done, things are transformed from one point to another. Back then we talk about land, labor, capital, entrepreneur, things like that. Those really are things that as a business person you need to be able to put those things in mind. There's also the concept of the 5 M's, those kind of things, right? Those things are really, really things that as a business person we need to understand those concepts for us to fully utilize materials, man, machines, the money to be able to get what we want at the end of the day. Of course, we can't do away without understanding, confidence in market, right? How best to be able to see that, our business is doing well in that market space, for us to be able to see that, we position ourselves in a way that also affects us as persons. Because again, how well we do affects how our nation, what affects our nation at large, right? We can't also do without talking about, labor economics part of things. We can't do without talking about how man as a resources obviously affects businesses as it is, right? Recently we heard about, the I think it's Pengason or what they call them now, those people in oil, people the labor people in oil, right, that decided to go on strike, because of one thing or the other. We really can't do without thinking about how that also affects us, right? So as a business, as a smart manager, it's really important for us to look at all components that really affect us as persons and how that would also influence the growth of our business as well as the growth of our nation at large. Also, I mean, I've talked about pricing and how that affects us. I've talked about what's it called now? Incentives in microeconomics. We can also do without talking about utility, right? This is also another concept in microeconomics. This just literally talks about how well you're able to get the right value from something, how well you're able to utilize something to get the right result that you require. Microeconomics really is just about how well things affect people on a lower scale, and of course the collective what's it called now? The collective result of all of that, affects macro on the other hand. I've also added some areas around the concept of macroeconomics, things around the national income, which I've talked about, unemployment and how that affects us as well, economic growth, either the economic boom or the other one where we just have recession, and things like that. We've talked about inflation and how that also affects us. We've talked about international trade also, where that just literally has to do with business between country to country and how well the country makes some form of revenue from from international businesses between nations. Of course, balance of payment is also another area that we also need to look at, which is also a concept around macroeconomics. Balance of payment can either be deficit or it can be surplus in a way, right? This literally just talks about, if you as a producing nation and how well you are able to supply other countries. If you have a lot of products as a country that you produce and you're able to sell that product, rather than buying or shipping certain products into your country. If you have a favorable balance of payment, it just means that you have more of export rather than import. If you have an unfavorable balance of payment, that just means that you have more of import rather than export. I mean, last election, we were hearing one of the political parties saying that we're going to try as much as possible to see that we have a favorable balance of payment. This country needs to be a producing nation rather than an importing nation, things like that. So again, some of these things can really affect persons, can affect businesses, can also affect the nation at large. We also can't do without talking about how interest rates also affect businesses at large. Imagine if CBN wakes up one day to say that, what, the interest rate that we'll be charging for banks is going to be high. That in turn, affects how even banks, the commercial banks, even give out loans, because if they do that as well, that will also reduce the rate at which people even take loans from commercial banks. And once they do that, that also in turn affects microeconomics in a way. So again, these all things are, it's interconnected one way or another. How macroeconomics is what's it called now? How some of the components of macroeconomics is fully managed can also in turn affect microeconomics on the other hand. Of course, we can't do without talking about how exchange rates also affect this in the long run, right? If you have a higher exchange rate, so for instance now, if the dollar keeps getting higher rather compared to the naira, obviously will affect how businesses run, how businesses operate, and things like that. And that will also affect other businesses, right? It will affect how people, are able to, so for instance, now some organizations who, buy one thing or another, maybe it's like a voucher for exams, or maybe buy one product out abroad and then ship it in. Some of those things really will affect business in a way. So if you don't fully understand how well to manage some of these things, I mean, totally understand that government intervention also has to come in a way to influence this. And of course, if those interventions don't come in, that will obviously affect we as businesses, affect people as well, right? So it is really, really important for us to understand these two concepts, micro and macroeconomics, understanding that, one in a way affects the other. So, well, of course, we want to look at a comparison, right, between micro and macroeconomics, right? We've also established, right, that the macro has to do with a smaller scale, has to do with a small scale, right? Individuals, firms, things like that. And then the macro, on the other hand, has to do with a larger scale, which has to do with, the national, between nations in a way, right? And of course, we also talked about how this can always be, it's always interconnected. We've talked about how, if these things are not fully regulated, if these things are not fully utilized, if these things are not fully managed in a way, it's in the long run affects persons, affects businesses, and also affects you and I as it is. So again, we can't overemphasize the importance of understanding this. We can't overemphasize we understanding our environment, we understanding how the nation operates, we understanding what exactly happens around us, and for us to be able to take advantage of certain instances or situations. I'd like to encourage that, as business persons, it will be very, very weird for us not to understand what is happening around us, right? If we don't do that, it obviously will put us in a very, very weird position where you don't see things happening, you don't see results, you don't see how your business grows. This is just for us to understand that everything happens, what's it called now? Things happen not just by chance, right? It's just for you to be able to understand how well to be able to take advantage of some of those things. I mentioned earlier that, some government policies can obviously be introduced where, if you don't know what to do, it puts you in a very, very difficult position. So imagine, recently I was hearing something about, what's it called now? I think they call it what they call them now? The discourse companies, right? Recently, I heard the federal government has uh, introduced about 4 trillion naira or so to be able to finance them for some debt that have been owed, right? Imagine. So when I saw that news, I also saw another news for that Gencos are saying that they are countering that as much as the government is saying that they've released about 4 trillion naira to be able to pay for some of the debt for electricity and things like that, they are saying that they've not seen it, they've not seen anything like that. Point is that sometimes as a business person, right? So for instance, now somebody said there was a business partner of ours that said that, Hafiz, I want us to be able to put a proposal for us to be able to see how we could recover debt for a certain disco company that I think the military also are owing them for using electricity for over 10 years and they've not paid them, things like that. So the debt has accumulated to a point where they need to find a way to get that debt because the business is affected. Imagine you supplying somebody electricity for over 10, 15 years and you've not been able to get one single naira from servicing those organizations. These disco companies have about maybe 3 or 4 or 5 government entities like that are owing them for things like that. Imagine being able to recoup all of that debt. That would obviously put you in a very good position. Point is that so many things are interconnected, and of course one way or another affects you as a business, affects you as a person, and it's just right for you to be able to understand how well to be able to navigate some of these areas. Pretty much. So again, we can't do without talking about some of the challenges of economics, right? Every day, I mean, resources is something that is obviously scarce. We all agree that resources are scarce. Resources can never be enough, right? There's this thing that they say that human worth is insatiable. You can't really satisfy that. You as a business person, you obviously don't have you don't have access to full resources to be able to utilize that to do what you want to do. Imagine if you even have the right resources, you obviously will say it's not enough for you to still do what you want to do because again, you can't satisfy the wants of businesses or as of persons. So again, these are some of the challenges of economics. Resources are always scarce. You can't really do without that. The idea now is for you to now know how to brilliantly use the resources that you have to be able to make do of what you need to do. Sometimes also it's a good thing. Do you know why? Because of course, if you have limited resources, you are able to know how best to be able to position all your energy on something. In a way, I understand that can also be challenging because you also have a long list of things that you want to do as a business, and things like that. But of course, if you are a smart manager, you then know how best to be able to utilize the resources that you have to be able to get where you want at the end of the day. Income inequality, obviously, this is something that is obviously clear and glaring everywhere. You can't really, people used to say, there's this saying that all fingers are not equal, right? So people don't earn the same way, right? And because people don't earn the same way, their purchasing power is affected, right? And when purchasing power is affected, people don't all have satisfaction that they require on one thing or the other. This is always very difficult in economics because once there's income inequality for people, right? Obviously affect purchasing power in a way that also affects what's it called now, macroeconomy, because in a way, at some point, obviously, we get to the point where growth of and satisfaction of people is obviously affected. We can't do without talking about economic cycles, boom, recession, things like that. There was a point in Nigeria where we had economic boom, where we have oil, we have a lot of resources for us at our disposal. At this point, we're gradually if care is not taken, gradually going into the recession part. But of course, recently heard that the present administration has been able to clear all the debts being owed by the government, blah blah blah, things like that. As much as we're clearing one debt or another, we're taking one from somewhere else. But again, it's important for us to be able to understand that if we are in economic boom, this is how well as persons or as businesses to take advantage of certain things. If we're in a recession, this is definitely going to affect how people patronize us as a business. Obviously going to affect how people make money. But it's weird that as much as people are claiming there's recession, the money is always where it is, right? I remember where I think the Buhari administration, where people are complaining, oh, there's recession here, there's recession there, but people are actually buying a lot of cars. Companies are buying cars. People, government are still spending money here and there. But again, it's just for us to be able to know how best to be able to take advantage of the situation that we are in, and then for us to be able to position ourselves, our business in a way that we're always going to make revenue and make profit at the end of the day. Globalization and trade conflict. Obviously, this obviously affects businesses, affects people. We can't do without talking about how most recently the long queues of petroleum, and all of that conflict here and there, people not being able to get petroleum products into the country, things like that, right? So this obviously will affect businesses, affect how people operate, and of course, if you do not understand how best to be able to position your business or your business to do business with other countries or other businesses outside of your nation, then of course that obviously will affect you as well. Corruption and weak institution. This can't be overflowed, right? If you have a very, very corrupt process, that will obviously will affect businesses, affect economics in general, affect how you make how revenue is generated at the end of the day. If you have institutions where you don't have very good government backing, you don't have very good support in government to be able to ensure that there are proper institutions that can support small and medium enterprises, and things like that. That obviously will affect businesses, right? So it's now left for us to be able to see how best to be able to position ourselves, take advantage of some of the resources available, the institutions available, this government backing available to see how that profits us as a business. But again, a very, very corrupt or a weak institution obviously will affect businesses and how the nation grows at large. Again, we can't overemphasize how fluctuating exchange rates can also affect businesses, affect individuals, affect even the nation at large. Most people will want to run away from your own country because of how either the process is corrupt or either businesses isn't looking lucrative anymore, because most people will not want to invest in an area where they literally see inflation taking over everything. They can't even make profit. They can't make money out of what they're doing. I think sometime last year or 2 years ago, the rate of companies that have left Nigeria because of high rate of inflation, high rate of weak processes affects their business. They had to, leave the country, and you won't blame them, because imagine you constantly buying maybe petroleum to service a plan, what's it called now, a manufacturing company that you have, where power is not constant. Today there's electricity, tomorrow there's not electricity. Sometimes you can even have 1 week out without electricity, and you can't constantly continue buying, fuel or diesel, to service your business. That obviously will cripple your business, and at some point you say, what, let me just leave this country and go to a neighboring country that seems to be prospective for my business. So again, these are some of the challenges that can affect businesses. These are some of the challenges that we need to find a way to see how well to take advantage of some of the situation that we might find ourselves or our business in. The environment is always volatile. The environment is always, it's somehow, it's just for us to be able to see how well to be able to take advantage of some of the situation that we find ourselves. These challenges will always continue to remain, right? As business person, it's always important for us to understand that challenges will come day in, day out. It's just left for us to be able to see how well we're able to manage some. It might be very, very difficult for you to manage, right? But it's left for you to be able to say, okay, this I can manage, this I can find a way around. Some, you just leave that to God and say, okay, what, this one don't pass me. I can't fight government. This is a policy that has been introduced. There's nothing I can do about it. It's just for us to be able to see how well to take advantage of some of those situations that we find ourselves. Again, it's economics, right? It's something that we always will see around us. It's things that we obviously will see how to find a way to relate it around us. So, I've been able to capture some of these areas for us to be able to see how well we are able to take out some, what's it called now? Answer collectively, right? We've hammered about what microeconomics is, what macroeconomics is, what economics in itself is, and how it affects us as persons and as businesses. I've been able to capture this to see. Let's answer this together. Which of the following best fall under microeconomics? Is it the national unemployment rate? Is it inflation? Is it inflation trends in the economy? Price determination of rise in local market? Exchange rate policies of central bank? I think it's great for us to all collectively look at this and then see how to answer this, so that we, understand what these things are and how it obviously affect us. It would be great for us to get feedback, maybe in the chat room, answers. You can obviously unmute your mic if you want to speak. Let's collectively look at some of these case studies and then respond to them. So please, let's look at it. Which of these following best falls under microeconomics? Is it national unemployment rate? Is it inflation trends in the economy, price determination of rise in the local market? We've obviously established that microeconomics are the smaller part or the smaller lens, while the macro one is the bigger lens. So please, if you want to share in the chat room, you could put the option there, either A, B, or C, so that we're all on the same page. All right. Please confirm if you can see my screen. Confirm if you can see what I'm sharing, so that I can also check the chat room to see if people are responding.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay. Awesome. What am I sharing? Sorry, I think I'm sharing the. Okay, please confirm you can still see. So yes, let's collectively answer this. Which of the following best fall under microeconomics? Is it the national unemployment? Is it inflation? Is it price determination? Is it exchange rate? I know we've established that national unemployment it's on a global level, so that can be handled on a national level, right? So that probably will fall under macro. How about inflation? Where does that fall? Inflation trend in the economy, where do you think that falls under? Will that be macro or will that be micro? So let's look at it. Let's say, is it A, is it B, is it C? All right, C. All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kylie. Thank you very much. All right, C. So let's see what C is. Let me come back to my screen. Give me a second. Oh, okay. Okay, all right, awesome. Price determination, yes, because exchange rate obviously is sorry. Please, can you confirm what you can see on your screen? I'm not sure which screen I'm showing now. Please
Okay,
confirm what you can see.
okay, so what this is what is showing. Which of the following best falls under microeconomics?
Okay. Okay. All right. Awesome. That's the right one. Okay. All right. Yeah. So you're right. C is the right one, right? Price determination of rice in the local market. Of course, this is on a lower lens. This is on a lower level. These are things that affect, local businesses. These are things that affect one business or the other. Remember that when we talk about macro, it's talking about, nation to nation, GDP, talking about, the international level, right? But micro really talks about, small businesses, persons, individuals, things like that. So again, spot on, right? So let's look at the second one. Which of the following issues is a focus of macroeconomics, right? Which of the following issues is a focus of macroeconomics? Is it the behavior of individual firms? Is it the impact of government spending on national income? Is it demand and supply of single products? Is it price strategy of a retail business? Which one do you think falls under macro or micro? So let me go back to the chat room again. Which do we think fall under micro or macro? Are there responses in the chat room? Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I mean, it's pretty straightforward, right? Macro obviously is government related, national income, things like that. We can't overemphasize. We can't overemphasize that. The behavior of individual firms, that's left for individuals, for them to be able to understand how that affects them and how they find their way around that. Impact of government spending, obviously, demand supply, obviously, will that doesn't affect nations too, but of course, in the context of this question, is the impact of government spending on national income. Okay, that's awesome. All right, so let's look at the next one, right? The decision of Dangote Cement to increase production is an example of what? So what would we categorize the decision of Dangote Cement company increasing production as? Is that a microeconomics? Is that a macroeconomics? Is that an international economics? Is that a development economics? That is one, right? Okay, let's get feedback from people. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Rick. Thank you very much, Humphrey. Thank you very much. Yeah, so we can't overemphasize that, right? Dangote is a business, right? So as much as we know that he does business on a high level, he's a multinational company, we understand that. But of course, this is something that is peculiar to his own business, and if he decides to increase production, that's his own business, right? Even though the activities that happen within his own business as a context can also affect macro. I hope that makes sense, right? So if, for instance, now Dangote decides to say, you know what, all my staff, I'm laying off maybe 50% of my staff. I'm cutting down on production. I'm cutting down on the rate at which I establish in other countries. That, in a way, can affect macroeconomics. But of course, in this context, microeconomics is the answer to this particular question. Thank you very much for your comments. All right, so let's look at the last one. Central Bank of Nigeria adjusting interest rates to control inflation rates. Where would you put that? Microeconomics, macroeconomics, behavioral economics, or labor economics? Where will you put that? Central Bank of Nigeria adjusting interest rates to control inflation rates. Inflation relates to what? Will you call that labor economics? Will you call that behavioral economics? Where will you put that? Let's get your response. Okay. Thank you, Coyote. Let's hear from other people. Thank you, Humphrey. Okay, let's see from other people. Are you coming okay? Okay, all right, okay. Okay, macroeconomics. Okay, awesome. So why wouldn't you say microeconomics? Why wouldn't you say microeconomics? Is it because it's central bank? But of course, we're all spot on, right? We're all spot on. It's really macroeconomics, and if the central bank decides that they want to adjust interest rates, of course, it's macroeconomics, because once they do that, as they are adjusting interest rates, even commercial banks obviously would increase their rate of loan. I mean, the interest rate when you're collecting loan, and things like that. Once commercial banks start to do that, you and I who would go to collect loan from them, it becomes a challenge for us too, and when that happens, obviously it affects our own level as as macroeconomics or firms, or things like that affect that area as well. So again, the macro in a way affects macro, and of course, if those areas are not well managed, if macro areas are not well managed, it obviously will just affect micro, and everything just goes haywire. So again, it's important for us as business to be able to fully understand this, fully take advantage of some of the situations that we might find ourselves in, and then of course we're able to make revenue where required. Of course, we are also able to grow where required. So ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much it around what we want to discuss with everybody today. It's just really a brief one for us to just talk about economics in general, for us to understand why it matters, how it affects us, how we're able to also take advantage of some of the things around us, how well for us to be able to understand what is most pressing, what is less pressing, how well to be able to utilize some of the resources available to us at our disposal. And then we are also able to understand how to take advantage of some of the situations that we might find ourselves. This is really, really important for us to also always understand our environment, always understand things around us, and also know how well that will also affect us in the long run. So please, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this was a bit informative. I hope you've been able to learn one thing or another from our conversation today. At this point, I would like to take questions if there is, and then of course we're able to rub minds around what needs to be discussed. Again, thank you very much for listening to me. I'd like to take questions now if you have for me.
Mr. Hafiz, before you round up, maybe you also want to just uh, take some of us as 16-year-olds, and maybe you want to shed some light on some of these things. I was looking at this and saying that people make trade-offs, and I know in a sense you've talked about some of these things today, but if you can just shed what exactly are the trade-offs that all of us are making consciously or unconsciously. And of course, you've also talked about cost and also incentives. So maybe in 4 or 5 minutes, you can just pick on one of these things and just give us real life examples that us normal people can relate with.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. So I mean, yeah, I like I like what you've put here, 10 principles of economics for 16-year-olds. Yes, so I mean, these are some of the things that we face every day. So every decision involves giving up one thing of obviously, right? So there's this thing around, the concept of opportunity cost, things like that. What is one thing that you're giving up on the other? What is most pressing? What are the things that you need to look at and weigh to see what is most important to you, what is less important to you, what can you come back to at a later time. There are instances where one business or another sees an opportunity to invest on something, and then of course maybe the resources at their disposal might not be sufficient for them to invest on that thing that they want to do. So it pretty much will require them to look at what they can do on the immediate, and then look at what other thing that they can do maybe at a future time. So for instance, now say for maybe an organization who wants to leverage on a tool that can help them to improve on their services, and then they realize that maybe it will cost them about 30 million naira to be able to get that tool to be able to do that. The other option that they might have is to look at what organization or partners that they can take advantage of, to see how well once they partner with some of those organizations, rather than them paying 30 million naira to go get that tool, they can then partner with some other organization to do that service for them, and then maybe at a later time they can then be able to afford the 30 million naira product or tool that they need to get. The concept of opportunity cost is something that it's a foregone alternative. It's something that you need to leave one for another. I mean, there are instances where, I mean, most time there are instances where you have two things that are in front of you, and the two are important. But of course, one will obviously be more important than the other, and you have to obviously look at what will give you the result that you require almost immediately, and then of course look at the long term and see what you can sacrifice now, and then take advantage later. It's also very, very important for us to look at for us to, you know, respond to incentives, right? It's something that is for people. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, of course. So if there are changes, right, in price, right, if there are changes around what people do, how well you're able to take advantage of maybe discounts that are available, how well you're able to look at how you can satisfy people, how well you're able to take advantage of some of the cost benefits for your business. You can also obviously look at it from, so for instance, look at number 7 that says government can sometimes improve market outcomes. Obviously, there are instances where, you know, government can come down to say, okay, you know, we want to subsidize the cost of one thing or the other. Because we know that ordinarily, for the typical citizen or indigene, for them to get some of these things can be very, very difficult. How well can we subsidize the getting of these things for everybody to be able to get? So before now, petroleum was subsidized. We used to buy fuel for maybe 75 naira or 80 naira as at that time. Later, it got to a point where we are not able to buy that at that amount again. Later, you know, it got to the point where still subsidized, we were able to get it maybe for about maybe 120 naira, 130 naira. But right now, you know, that has been taken off. And once, you know, government intervention on that has been taken off, obviously will affect businesses on a long run. There are also instances where, you know, aside fuel, government are also coming to be able to see how well they're able to subsidize one thing or the other. And that, in a way, can also support businesses, small and medium enterprises. So for instance, now government will say, okay, you know what, let's provide loans to small and medium businesses. Let's give them loans for them to be able to see how to, you know, furnish their business, to see how they can make a living in a way, you know. There are so many interventions that government have introduced, but again, some of them might not be effective. Some can, some it's really not not a good area, because we've not seen how much that has affected people. We've not seen how much those organizations have benefited from some of those initiatives that have been introduced. So again, these are really things that we all need to understand. These are all things that we need to understand how they can affect us. I hope I've been able to speak to some of these areas, Doctor. Doctor, I think I don't know if you're still there, Doctor. We lost you. I hope I've been able to speak to some of these areas.
Boss, if you are speaking, we can't hear you.
I think, Hafiz, I think you've spoken to some of those areas, right? Mercy, do we have any more questions to be attended to?
Oh, okay. This is.
Oh, he's back.
Okay.
I think we lost you again, sir.
Okay, Apis, well, 1 second. So please, Mercy, this is also part of the assignment, right? So everybody that is here needs to be able to articulate in very clean and clear terms some of these things. So apart from Apis just talking about them, it's important that everybody that is here, we can articulate what exactly these 10 things so I think you can round up. The plan was not to take too much of your time because the class is to close in 5 minutes. Yeah, I mean, just it's just like as a quick pointer, because sometimes people think that economics is too technical for them to understand, but all of us make economic decisions every day of our lives, and I think that's the point that I was trying to make. But yes, I think you can quickly round up, and then we'll hand it over to Mercy.
All right, awesome. I mean, we're done. We just wanted to get questions from people, thoughts, concerns, comments from participants. So please, if you have questions, if you have thoughts, Comment, please do well to share. Let's hear from them. Mr. Rick, it would be great to hear from you. Shoaib, Oyeyemi, let's hear from you. Thoughts, comments. Generally, what do you think? Thoughts, comments? Somebody is speaking. I can't hear you. Oh, I thought I heard somebody speak. Thoughts, comments, questions. Very much appreciate. Let's hear your thoughts, comments. All right, so again, yeah, that's pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time. It's really beautiful speaking to everyone. That's pretty much it. Edith, Mercy, over to you, please. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Hafiz. Please a round of applause to Hafiz and a very big one to all of our trainers for today, starting from Olushola, Mr. Muiwa, and Hafiz. Thank you so much for your time today. And everyone, thank you so much for standing by up till now. Okay, just a few announcements and we'll call it a day. The registration for this program is still open. So please get your friends and your loved ones to register. Tell them about this program because it's something that is going to transform your life. Not only your life alone, but your generation, all right? So please call your friends and loved ones to join us and to register for this program. Also, if you are on the call and you have not yet registered, okay, just like I said, the registration link is going to be sent to the chat room, so do well to register. Check your mail and follow every instruction sent to you on the mail. You are to join a WhatsApp platform. So once you register, you check your mail, the link has been sent along with the mail. Please, can you still hear me? I think my internet is fluctuating.
Yes, Marcia, we can hear you.
All right, thank you so much. So you check your mail for the instruction and follow accordingly. Also, if you are yet to pay for your registration fee, kindly do so. Today was supposed to be the last day for the payment, but some of you have reached out to us that please can we extend? So we can still accommodate you for a bit, just for a very shorter period of time, after which all the classes is going to be locked up for only those who have made their registration fee. I believe we all understand. A mail was sent across to every one of you last week, so please refer to your mail, and the same thing is going to be forwarded to your WhatsApp group. So please, once you make your payment, send us your proof of payment, and we will get back to you. We'll send you your receipt, and then you will be able to attend the class once we lock up the whole group. All right? Thank you so much. And then, if you are yet to follow us on all of our social media handles, we implore that you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, engage on all of our posts, mention us, like, comment, talk about Transformation College, all right? So this is what we are asking of you. And then for the training slides, it's going to also be forwarded to the group, all right, immediately after now. And then the recording of this session is going to be sent to you all by next week. So please, any other announcements will be sent to the platform as well. Yes, if you haven't received your, please check your mail. I think this was done before now. Please check your mail. If it has not been sent to you in the coming week, you should receive all of your receipts, all right? Thank you so much for pointing me out to that. I think that will be all for now. Every other announcement will be sent to your platform. Thank you so much for your time and do enjoy the rest of your weekend. See you next Saturday and bye for now.